Chapter 498. Down the precipice. At that moment, Lin Feng obviously didn't know what was happening within the imperial palace. At the Yunhai sect, within the former territory of the Holy Courtyard, there were 7 places where silhouettes were flickering and moving. They seemed like they were destroying the buildings. On the ground, there was a thick qi which filled the air. Mr. Qi and Mr. Hua were standing at one of those 7 places. They were looking at the flickering silhouettes. Mr. Qi smiled and said, "Hua, old fellow, what does Lin Feng plan on doing? What kind of formation? Why is everybody so agitated?" The great formations are the illusion of the 7 stars, the 8 trigrams prison, and the 9 palaces gathering. Therefore, Lin Feng must be using these 7 locations to form the illusion of the 7 stars. I think he wants to create an illusion formation around the sect," replied Mr. Hua. Formations which required less than 5 components were not that difficult. It became more difficult as the number of components in a formation increased, but they were also more powerful. The 7 stars, the 8 trigrams, the 9 palaces were legendary. Those deadly formations and illusions used vast amounts of pure qi to enhance their power. These formations were unimaginable. In the end they could even form pure qi palaces. Of course, this was only a rumor, nothing more. It wasn't an absolute truth. At the same time, it was true that extremely powerful formations could use pure qi to enhance the formation's power, like the 9 palaces formation, which could be used to imprison and kill people. However, the most important thing was always the foundation of a formation. Besides, the extremely powerful formations were not limited to the 7 stars, 8 trigrams, and 9 palaces. Some even more complex formations consisted of creating multiple formations as the components of a larger formation. The 7 stars, 8 trigrams and 9 palaces were just the commonly known legendary formations and illusions, but they still had incredible power. Besides, combining several formations together would cause the power of the formations to become even more terrifying. Of course, acquiring the knowledge required to create those types of formations was extremely difficult, and then the degree of creating them was otherworldly. In the continent of the 9 clouds, people would rarely provoke an extremely strong formation master. They were able to create a formation to easily kill an army of millions in a flash, leaving only destruction in their wake. Those days, even though Lin Feng was able to create formations, he was far from being close to a formation master. He was just trying to understand how they worked and found out that he was able to learn them with astonishing speed. With the help of the 36 women who were quite proficient with creating formations and spells, there was already a thick mist and fog around the Yunhai sect. The entire area was surrounded by an illusionary mist. Formations are incredibly mysterious. They are not any inferior to alchemy, sighed Mr. Hua while looking at the mist constantly rising into the air. Skills and techniques belonged to cultivation, pills belonged to alchemy, while spells and formations also belonged to their own fields of expertise. It was an incredibly mysterious and profound field. Outsiders would never understand how it worked. That's obvious. The continent of the 9 clouds is so vast and boundless that we don't even know how big its size is. We have never been outside of Shuiyu, so we are considered short-sighted. We have read books written by extremely powerful alchemists, but those people never stopped in their cultivation. Monstrously strong alchemists are worshipped and revered by the people. People would prostrate themselves before such illustrious and eminent people. Extremely strong formation masters can create unimaginable destruction and deserve the people's reverence. Of course, no matter if we're talking about alchemy or formations, they are all based on personal cultivation. That's the basic principle," said Mr. Qi while sighing, expressing his own opinion. Mr. Hua had a deep and meaningful expression in his eyes and nodded. Those who don't work hard, whether it be cultivation, formations, or alchemy, they will never succeed. Besides, they could be killed at any time by stronger cultivators. A person's cultivation is the basic foundation of strength in the world. "You old men are in a good mood, I see." Someone interrupted them at that moment while laughing. It came from behind the 2 old men. They were surprised. They turned around and saw Lin Feng, who was laughing from behind them. They were shocked and then smiled wryly. Lin Feng, you are already strong enough to kill us at any time, said Mr. Hua while shaking his head. Lin Feng walked towards them while blocking his ears. He just acted as if he hadn't heard anything. If Lin Feng had wanted to kill them, they would be dead already. Lin Feng's cultivation was incredible and they could see the small changes in him. For example, Lin Feng's qi wasn't leaking out from his body, and when he walked, he didn't emit a single sound. It's just that you weren't paying attention, said Lin Feng, denying that the two old men had any weaknesses. He then said, a moment ago, you were talking about the continent of the 9 clouds, that it was founded on personal cultivation. I definitely agree with you. Only when you are strong, can you reach the heavens and annihilate everything in your way. However, since everybody knows that cultivation is the key to everything, why do so many people practice alchemy, formations, and other unorthodox skills? Lin Feng. You have to understand that not everybody is as gifted as you in cultivation. Many people, when they practice cultivation, find themselves stuck at a bottleneck and can't break through to the next layer. And practicing cultivation fanatically like a madman doesn't always lead to success either. If their temperament or their power of understanding is not sufficient, then they can't improve their cultivation to the next level. Then their cultivation level reaches a limit which can't progress anymore. Maybe if you practice a few unorthodox things in the future, then you will come to understand their benefits. At some point, you may reach your limit and be unable to break through with your cultivation. Besides, you cannot say that alchemy and formations are useless, they are both extremely powerful. Someone who can concoct Xian pills of average quality can help people at the Xian Qi layer with their cultivation, and in that case, not only is the alchemist helping them, but they can also receive favors and payment in exchange. Besides, alchemists can also use the pills on themselves to benefit their own cultivation, so why not study it? Lin Feng understood and nodded. In fact, that really was the case. Lin Feng had also thought about these things. He had just asked their opinion because he was asking himself these questions. He was realizing that on the path of cultivation, of alchemy, or formations, he was always extremely talented. The problem was that it was also making him feel hesitant on how he should proceed. What should he do to make the most of his potential? How could he maximize the benefits of his potential? Lin Feng, I know what you're thinking, but I want to tell you something. On the path of alchemy or formations, you are very talented and you must avoid wasting your talent. Maybe someday, you will realize that everything you study will lead to unimagined results. Yes, personal cultivation will allow you to reach the heavens, but it doesn't mean that you are omnipotent. Imagine if you weren't here and somebody was threatening your sweetheart, your friends, or your family, what could you do? However, if you were a brilliant alchemist who strengthened them with your pills, or created incredible formations, they could protect themselves without you. Even if you weren't there, you would still be able to indirectly protect them from harm. Said Mr. Hua. He knew exactly how Lin Feng felt. He then added, of course, Lin Feng, that's only my opinion, the most important thing is for you to listen to your heart. Lin Feng smiled in a warm and gentle way, and nodded at Mr. Hua before saying, I understand, Mr. Hua. That's the most important thing then. You don't need me to tell you anything, make your own decisions. You wouldn't have created such a gigantic illusion formation around the Yunhai sect if you didn't trust your own instincts. There wouldn't have been any need for us to waste so much energy and so many resources to create it otherwise. Said Mr. Hua, which made a smile appear on the corner of Lin Feng's mouth. The former territory of the Holy Courtyard was extremely vast. Lin Feng had indeed used lots of energy to create that gigantic formation. When creating that gigantic formation, he had even used a huge quantity of purity stones, which he had picked from the vein of the earth at Mount Sword. 3 days later, many people were walking past the former territory of the Holy Courtyard of Shuiyu, which was now the Yunhai sect. It looked the same as before, but many people noticed that the Yunhai sect had become slightly strange. They felt like they were hallucinating. The Yunhai sect seemed to be surrounded by a mist if you looked closely. However, when looking again, everything seemed normal. How strange! Thought many people, it seemed like the Yunhai sect was different than before. However, at that moment, a silhouette appeared from within the Yunhai sect who suddenly jumped into the air. It was a very young man who moved with incredible speed. Besides, there was a ferocious beast closely following behind the young man. The crowd was astonished when they saw them. It must be Lin Feng. When the crowd saw him, they frowned and were shocked. That was Lin Feng. They only saw Lin Feng suddenly appear and jump into the air as his winged tiger flew under him in a flash. Lin Feng landed on the back of the beast and then they flew into the distance. Lin Feng looked like a celestial being, he seemed so carefree and wild. Lin Feng flew freely through the clouds on the back of the winged tiger. When the winged tiger beat its wings, it would travel across a huge distance in the blink of an eye. It was shockingly fast. They were heading towards the Yunhai mountain chain. The Yunhai mountain chain was quite far from the imperial city, but with the speed of the winged tiger, it would only take them a day. The winged tiger continued to fly through the sky until eventually it flew down through the clouds and arrived above a precipice. It then crossed a layer of fog and continued descending. Lin Feng could see the 8 drums on the precipice of Zhanggu, which reminded him of his time within the sect. "Follow the precipice, for about 1,000 meters," whispered Lin Feng. Protector Bei had once led him there. He then slowly flew down and arrived 1,000 meters under the precipice of Zhanggu. Chapter 499, Breaking the Door. Lin Feng arrived several thousand meters below the precipice in the valley and struck the cliff 3 times, a rumbling sound emerged and an opening was revealed. That was precisely the place where Lin Feng had escaped the massacre with Protector Bei. The winged tiger was surprised and its eyes were twinkling unceasingly. That cliff surprisingly had a hidden cave with secrets inside. "Let's go in," said Lin Feng in a low voice to the winged tiger, which spread its wings and immediately entered into the cave. It contained the qi of an ancient temple which was hidden since ancient times. There were some paintings and sculptures of phoenixes and dragons, there were gigantic pillars with carvings of ancient beasts, it had a very mysterious aura. The winged tiger roared while looking towards a wall. Lin Feng looked at what the winged tiger had seen and was suddenly astonished. There was a painting of an ancient ferocious beast, and it was a winged tiger. The winged tiger in the painting had greenish wings which blotted out the sky. Its ancient ferocious qi seemed terrifying, and its fur was like thorns all over its body which looked terrifying. It seemed like only brushing its fur would cost you an arm. That is an authentic ancient ferocious beast. It looks dignified, majestic and incredibly violent, thought Lin Feng. Even though his own winged tiger was incredible, it was far from being as majestic and as powerful as the winged tiger in the painting. All the ferocious beasts in the paintings here are incredibly powerful. That winged tiger in the picture seemed dignified and majestic. The ones who built that temple must have been incredibly strong, thought Lin Feng while looking at the paintings of the various beasts. If the one who built that temple had never seen those ferocious beasts, he would have never captured their aura and qi so well. Each painting looked like it was an actual beast. Lin Feng walked through the temple and saw the lamps which seemed like they could never be extinguished. He felt a strange feeling from within himself, he was really wondering who could have built such a mysterious temple. Could it have been built by a cultivator of the Zun Qi layer just like the one who had built the Forbidden Palace of the Z government? This might be his tomb just like in the Z government, a place where a Zun cultivator had gone to die. But that was just Lin Feng's thoughts and it only crossed his mind for a second. He immediately walked towards a green door which was the same one he wasn't able to open when he was last here. His winged tiger remained by his side. That door made from carved jade was gigantic and still seemed extremely solid. Lin Feng had come to the Yunhai mountain chain to see if he had the power required to open the door. If he managed to open it, maybe he would discover some incredible secrets and gain access to some ancient knowledge. That ancient temple was a secret, there was probably a reason for that. Xiong Qi, try to open that door by attacking it, said Lin Feng to his winged tiger. At that moment, even though the winged tiger was only a level 2 Xian beast, its body was already extremely strong and its physical power was incredible. If it used its full strength to attack the door, maybe it would work. Arrrrrrrr, the winged tiger roared and started to gather momentum. It was slowly moving backwards as it prepared to leap. Its two gigantic eyes looked ice cold. It was staring the door made from jade. Roar! The winged tiger roared furiously. It started beating its wings. It flickered and dashed against the door with all of its power. Boom, boom, boom. A heavy sound filled the air and resonated throughout the temple. It was unceasing, but the door didn't move, just like a mountain. The door wasn't even shaking. The winged tiger beat its wings again and moved back. Its claws were scratching the ground as it tried to gather more speed. Its two ferocious-looking eyes were still fiercely staring at the door. It didn't want to give up. Cheong Chi is just as stubborn as a human. Xian-level beasts had the intelligence of a young adult. When they reached the Tian level, there was no longer a difference between them and humans in terms of intelligence. Thought Lin Feng when he saw how stubborn the winged tiger was. The winged tiger dashed against the door once again. It significantly increased its speed and attacked with even more brutality. Bzzzzzzzzz. A buzzing sound resonated through the entire temple, and the shock was so intense that the winged tiger bounced away from the door and rolled across the ground. There was blood on the tiger's forehead ere it attacked the door with all of its momentum, and the door attacked back. It seemed like that door had counterattacked. The more violent the attack, the more brutal the counterattack. However, the winged tiger still couldn't open that door. The winged tiger crawled up from the ground and roared again. It didn't feel like giving up and didn't care about the injury. "Let me try," said Lin Feng. The winged tiger turned its head and looked at Lin Feng. It then nodded reluctantly and moved aside. It wanted to know if Lin Feng would be able to break the annoying door. Lin Feng stared at that gigantic door and took a deep breath. Since he had dealt with all the things in the Imperial City, he felt much more relaxed and his mind was more peaceful. He had come to the temple alone on purpose. He didn't want anyone else to know about the temple's existence. After all, back then, Protector Bei told him that even Nan Gongling didn't know about the temple. Only the protectors of the sect knew of its existence. If he managed to open that door and go inside, there was no telling what he might find. If he failed this time, he would just return after he became stronger. He abruptly released his pure qi, which created a storm in the air. His robes were fluttering with the wind of pure qi. He then raised his fist and bombarded the atmosphere. Aharikeh! Bawled Lin Feng heart and soul. He then threw himself at the door. Boom! A buzzing sound spread in the air. Lin Feng's fist abruptly stopped against the door and an extreme strength spread through his fist and into the rest of his body, which caused him to bounce back. "It seems like there is a hidden strength," said Lin Feng in a low voice. He then gathered momentum again and moved like the wind. He punched the door again with even more strength than a moment before. Bzzzzzzzzz. An even more powerful counterattack invaded Lin Feng's fist and arm at that moment. His skin was torn and his flesh was revealed. It was extremely painful. The more strength he put into his attack, the more powerful the counterattacks were. If he couldn't break the door, then he would only harm himself. Besides, Lin Feng couldn't clearly perceive the secret strength behind that door. It would penetrate his body and send him flying backwards. If I put more strength into it, the counterattacks are stronger, thought Lin Feng while staring at that door. It seemed like he understood something special, but at the same time he hadn't grasped the secret. What kind of feeling is that? Lin Feng had a very intriguing feeling. At the moment when he understood something, he also felt even more lost. I will try again, thought Lin Feng. Without wasting time, he bombarded the door once again with his fist. Useless. It was useless again. This time, Lin Feng couldn't stand the pain caused by the counterattack. It even contained deadly energy. Deadly energy. Lin Feng was stupefied. He had suddenly thought of something. So that's how it is, thought Lin Feng while smiling. Each time he attacked, the counterattack was more powerful than his own attack. The counterattack contained a powerful deadly energy which was invisible. What if he attacked the door as if it was a person? If Lin Feng attacked the door while releasing his deadly energy, he could avoid being counterattacked by using his own deadly energy to fight against the energy released from the door. That deadly energy was hidden, he couldn't see it, and it was extremely powerful. When Lin Feng finally had a plan, he stared at the door with a twinkle in his eyes. He quickly rushed forward again. Boom! He attacked the door again with all his power and his terrifying deadly energy. The door was about to counterattack again with its own deadly energy. But at that moment, Lin Feng raised a condensed sword filled with powerful sword intent. The deadly energy coming from the door was immediately destroyed by Lin Feng's deadly energy. His terrifying deadly energy then crashed into the door. Kacha! A subtle sound filled the air. Lin Feng moved back in a flash and pulled his deadly energy back with him, but Lin Feng didn't stop. He rushed at the door again and started attacking. After a few times, he moved back and looked at the door with a smile. There were a few cracks across the door. Even though the door hadn't been broken, it would soon crumble with the accumulated damage. Chapter 500, The Mysterious Encounter. Kacha! Another attack landed on the door. Lin Feng continuously bombarded the door. There were more and more cracks appearing on the door. It looked like it was on the verge of collapsing. One more attack should be enough, thought Lin Feng with a smirk on the corner of his mouth. He gathered speed again and a strong whistling wind emerged from his hand again as he rushed through the air. Break! Shouted Lin Feng extremely loud and bombarded the door with his fist again. At that moment, there was no rumble or buzzing, only a cracking sound. The door was broken and crumbled into powder. The door was finally broken. Lin Feng would finally be able to explore what was behind the door. There was an ancient path, a passageway. It was so narrow that it could only accommodate 2 or 3 people. The air was filled with a mysterious and mystical qi. It wasn't exactly what Lin Feng had imagined. He had thought that when the door collapsed, he would see a mountain of incredible treasures and skills, but instead, there was nothing more than just a long narrow passageway which seemed endless. Nobody knew where that passageway led to. Nobody knew how deep it was either. Lin Feng was irresolute. He was still in the temple and had finally broken the door, but after seeing that it was just a passageway, he thought, was there any point in continuing? I can't, I made such great efforts to break that door, I have to see what's inside, thought Lin Feng with a sharp light in his eyes. That passageway seems so deep and mysterious, but since I took great efforts to break the door, if I just leave, it would be such a pity. I would have done all of this for nothing, thought Lin Feng while taking a step forwards. He immediately entered the passageway. It could be dangerous, but it could also provide him with incredible opportunities. He just had to be vigilant. Lin Feng entered the passage and suddenly felt a marvelous yet strange sensation. He was all alone in the passageway, there was no one else in sight and the surroundings had changed. Lin Feng turned his head, but couldn't see the temple where he entered from. It was as if he had stepped into a completely different world, he was all alone. It's an illusion. Lin Feng was stupefied. That was an illusion. Besides, the illusion was extremely mysterious. In a flash, his surroundings had changed. SSS. A sharp whistling sound emerged in the air. Lin Feng was shocked. He then moved aside and a light passed by his body. He could feel that his cheeks were burning. Apart from an illusion, there is also a killing formation. Lin Feng was stunned. How dangerous! He couldn't believe his eyes. The passage contained an illusion and a killing formation. Was he going to be killed? Lin Feng didn't dare underestimate the killing potential of being trapped in an illusion. Last time, in the Nine-Palace Dragon formation, even though it was only an illusion, the people inside were killed and their bodies were thrown out of the illusion. They had died while being trapped inside. The killing potential of an illusion wasn't to be taken lightly. He could die. SSSS. SSSS. Two whistling sounds filled the air and were clearly detected by Lin Feng. Lin Feng was calmly standing still. He could sense the wind around his body. Immediately after, he moved his hand and pierced through the atmosphere, destroying the two incoming attacks. He was being attacked with arrows. Lin Feng had broken those two arrows with his hand and they immediately fell to the ground for him to see. Whoosh! Other sounds emerged. Lin Feng moved like the wind and dodged. A blade shot past which illuminated the entire atmosphere. What a terrifying place, thought Lin Feng. He was astonished. On that road, the attacks were unceasing. He could die at any moment. Lin Feng was wondering what was the purpose of the passageway. Was it made to kill people? If it had only been made to kill people, why did they have to make it seem so mysterious? Lin Feng didn't believe that the ancient temple was made as a joke to lure people in. His eyes twinkled and he kept walking forwards. He was more and more determined to find the mystery that was being so harshly protected. He wasn't hesitant anymore. Whoosh! SSSSSS. Whistling sounds continued to fill the air. Arrows and blades appeared from every direction and attacked in Lin Feng's direction. They were even more terrifying than those from the previous attacks. Piss off! Shouted Lin Feng furiously. He then released his pure qi in every direction which was as sharp as a sword. The arrows immediately broke under the qi and they could no longer reach Lin Feng. Phew! Lin Feng took a deep breath and glanced at the path. He was stupefied. Suddenly, something appeared in his mind. What a mysterious illusion! Something as towering and lofty as a mountain appeared in his mind. It was a black statue which was the size of a mountain. It seemed like nothing could attack that powerful statue. What's going on? Lin Feng's heart was pounding violently. That statue flickered. It appeared in his mind for a brief moment and then disappeared again straight after. But in that statue, Lin Feng had detected a trace of intent. Lin Feng was trying to see the statue in his mind. He was not giving up. Intent, whispered Lin Feng. After the earth fusion, there was intent. That intangible statue from before seemed like it had its own intent. Lin Feng closed his eyes and used his heart to sense his surroundings, to sense the mysteries of that ancient passageway. The whistling wind was caressing his body. Lin Feng started moving like the wind and suddenly felt an incredible sensation. He was trying his best to understand the mysteries. The statue appeared again and a mysterious yet mystical pattern appeared on his body. The statue looked like a statue of a wrathful Buddha, which had been there since ancient times, as if it was immortal and indestructible. Besides, Lin Feng had another sensation. He could clearly sense the veins of the statue. They were incredible. He could sense all the veins connecting each molecule of the statue together. What's that? Is it a skill? Thought Lin Feng, whose heart was palpitating. Could that statue use a skill? Did that statue want him to understand a skill? But the skill wasn't in a book, it was written nowhere. Nobody was telling him how it was performed. Lin Feng was only able to sense the veins within the statue. It was extremely mysterious. It was unimaginable. Lin Feng was shocked beyond words. But with his intuition, he could sense the mysteries flowing in those veins. He could tell that it was an extremely powerful skill. Chapter 501, 9 Haruka's Skill, SSSSSS. Another sharp whistling sound filled the air and something flew past Lin Feng's body. He frowned. It seemed like that illusion would never stop attacking him. Besides, the frequency of the attacks was getting more and more intense. It was becoming very difficult for him to move forwards. Lin Feng opened his eyes, revealing his pitch-black eyes which were filled with dazzling lights. In a flash, Lin Feng could perceive everything around him extremely clearly. Actually, his perception had been enhanced greatly as his strength grew. Visualization! Shouted Lin Feng in a deep voice. His celestial spirit twinkled and the Buddha statue appeared again, but the statue seemed to be moving away and its magic veins weren't very clear. Is that statue a Buddha or a demon? Thought Lin Feng, who still couldn't see it clearly. His eyes were glowing with determination. Lin Feng dodged to the side and immediately avoided an arrow. Lin Feng wasn't able to see the arrow but was easily able to sense it within his world of darkness. Reveal yourself to my eyes. Lin Feng glared with his pitch-black eyes towards the statue. It was faintly discernible, but it had finally stopped moving out of his field of vision. Lin Feng suddenly had the sensation that his eyes were traveling back and forth through a space-time portal. He suddenly felt like he was traveling around the statue inside those veins and his pure qi suddenly gushed out from his body. Black flames emerged around his body and transformed into a huge black lotus that surrounded Lin Feng's entire body. It would annihilate anything it touched. Besides, Lin Feng was staring at the statue. It was extremely dangerous, mystical and profound. The pure qi around his body was fluctuating and filling the air. Apart from controlling his pure qi to protect him, Lin Feng wasn't allowing himself to be distracted at all, he was focusing all of his soul power on the statue. There was nothing else in Lin Feng's mind other than discovering the secrets within this statue. At that moment, Lin Feng found that there was an extremely peculiar energy in his body, his entire circulatory system and bones started to shake and create subtle cracking sounds. Besides, it seemed like it had no plans of stopping. The energy started revolving around the channels in his body and was absorbed into his body. Not a single bone nor vein was missed. In Lin Feng's body, a faint discernible black light started to glow, and his body was becoming more and more distinct with a black luster. After that, a tearing sound was heard and Lin Feng's clothes were torn from his body. In the blink of an eye he was naked. Nothing was hiding Lin Feng's body at that moment and the black light was growing more and more distinct. An evil qi started to fluctuate, it qi was the evil swords. However, they were quickly suppressed by Lin Feng's soul. Even though those swords were shaking intensively, they couldn't escape from Lin Feng's body, they were only faintly discernible within Lin Feng's body. If a person witnessed this, they would be able to see the evil swords inside Lin Feng's body at that moment. There were 9 small evil swords struggling to break free. Apart from this, there was also a black pattern appearing on Lin Feng's body which was faint but grew more lifelike over time. He now looked exactly like the statue. A person couldn't tell if he looked like a Buddha or a demon though. The pattern looked alive but, it wasn't just a pattern on Lin Feng's body, it was actually part of him. It looked like the power of a deity. Besides, at the same time, the peculiar energy continued to flow around his body, and it was faster and faster. It didn't contain the strength of his pure qi, it was a new sort of strength which filled his body. Kacha. A clear and distinct sound emerged again. At that moment, Lin Feng's face was deathly pale. It seemed like there was no blood circulating in his face anymore. He was biting his lips and gnashing his teeth as if he had been enduring the most horrifying torture. However, Lin Feng gnashed his teeth and persevered. On the path of cultivation, he had always been like that. He always trusted his intuition. Only the result could tell him whether he made a mistake or not, it was a huge gamble with his life on the line. Lin Feng's intuition, at that moment, was telling him that he couldn't give up, he didn't know if it was a Buddha or a demon, but he had to absorb the intent either way. The energies were flowing faster and faster, those energies were incredibly mysterious. At that moment, Lin Feng's body had turned jet black. Once in a while, a golden light would twinkle but otherwise, his white skin had completely disappeared and was replaced with an ink-black skin. That blackness had enveloped his entire body. Each and every single part of his body had turned pitch black. However, it seemed that Lin Feng's awareness and consciousness were evolving in the right direction. Lin Feng's face looked ferocious at that moment. Because of that flow of energy, Lin Feng's entire body was in horrendous agony. At that moment, Lin Feng opened his mouth and uttered a long and painful cry. Arrgggh! Lin Feng roared bestially. The flow of energy was suddenly getting more and more intense. His entire body seemed like it was possessed by the light of that energy, and the carvings on his body was becoming more and more distinct. A faintly discernible strength rushed out of his body. It wanted to envelop the statue. The light glowed and the statue turned into a beam of light which immediately merged with the carvings on Lin Feng's body. They had completely merged. Phew! Lin Feng took in a deep breath of air. He had no strength left in his body. He slowly collapsed, laying on the ground. He had no strength to maintain his black lotus to protect him, so he laid there defenseless. SSSSSSSS. A terrifying whistling sound emerged in the air and moved towards Lin Feng again. Lin Feng remained motionless. He couldn't move and defend even if he wanted to. However, he looked extremely calm and serene. Boom! The object crashed into Lin Feng's body. It was painful but only slightly. It was much less painful than the previous sensation when he was enduring the energy flowing within his body. The pain from the arrow was extremely lacking in comparison. The strength of the 9 Harukas is now in my body. It is my body. The wrathful Buddha has merged with my body. So it also affects the power of my mortal body. Lin Feng had a magnificent and resplendent smile on his face. That statue was of a Haruka. There was also a terrifying intent contained within, which could influence other people's intent in a positive way. Besides, that statue contained a skill, the 9 Haruka's skill, and the user could transform into a Haruka and his body would become almost indestructible. Lin Feng had heard about body cultivating skills in the past. They came from the ancient past. However, they had gradually vanished from the history of the continent of the 9 clouds. However, those who had a stronger body were still able to die, which is why people stopped using them. Instead, they had started cultivating other skills such as sword cultivation. Thus, body skills had progressively vanished and been abandoned. Those days, people who practiced body skills were extremely rare. Some people who wanted to learn them couldn't, because they didn't have access to powerful body cultivation, and less powerful ones were almost useless. If a body cultivation skill wasn't extremely powerful, it was of no use. However, the 9 Haruka's skill was extremely powerful. It could greatly strengthen and regenerate the corporeal body by condensing the strength of the 9 Harukas. It was a monstrously powerful body skill. Lin Feng was very lucky to have encountered such a powerful body cultivation skill. Of course, Lin Feng knew that in order to master the skill to perfection, he would need diligent practice because it was extremely difficult. He didn't have a guide to learn it. He could only visualize the Haruka statue and its intent to fully understand the skill. Lin Feng had a terrifying power of understanding when he released his celestial spirit. He also had an understanding of intent, therefore, he had managed to successfully visualize the Haruka statue. Besides, that 9 Haruka's skill had strict requirements. It also required a body in harmony with the earth. It was a mandatory requirement. A person would need to break through to the earth fusion realm before learning the skill. Fortunately, Lin Feng had already broken through to the earth fusion dimension. He had everything required to master the skill, but also patience and endurance were required in order to endure the pain caused by the skill. Lin Feng had already had all the requirements, so all he needed to do now was practice the 9 Haruka's skill, and condense the strength of 9 Harukas. Chapter 502, 3000 rotations. Lin Feng laid on the ground. It was taking him an extremely long time to recover. At that moment, his eyes were still closed and a black energy was flowing through his veins. Lin Feng just needed to think to be able to channel the energy of the 9 Harukas into his veins, which increased his potential and strength unceasingly. The attacks from cultivators of the Xian Qi layer were classed from 1000 to 9000 Haruka rotations. Those who had 1000 Haruka rotations couldn't be injured by cultivators of the first Xian-Qi layer. Those who had 2000 Haruka rotations couldn't be hurt by those of the second Xian-Qi layer. If a cultivator had 10,000 Haruka rotations, he couldn't be hurt by any cultivator of the Xian-Qi layer. His body couldn't be harmed a cultivator below the Tian-Qi layer. Besides, those who had a corporeal body with 10,000 Haruka rotations could kill cultivators at the peak of the Xian-Qi layer with a single punch. The 9 Haruka's skill enabled a cultivator to allow a wrathful energy to flow into their veins and form rotations. More precisely, it was a circulation throughout the body. The strength of the Haruka would thus rotate around the cultivator's body, unceasingly making their body stronger. Each full rotation enabled the body to grow much stronger, allowing a cultivator to have a much greater defense and physical strength. For cultivators of the Ling-Qi layer, the strength could be increased with rotations counted in the hundreds, 100, 200 etc. With each rotation that was achieved, the physical strength of the body was increased as well. 900 rotations meant that they were stronger than any cultivator in the Ling-Qi layer. Besides, for cultivators of the Xian-Qi layer, it didn't stop either. 1000 rotations was called a full cycle. A full cycle meant that the physical strength had increased to the next level. After 9 cycles, or 9,000 rotations, a cultivator was also peerless amongst cultivators of the Xian-Qi layer. Lin Feng had already broken through to the third Xian-Qi layer, but while practicing the 9 Haruka's skill, he could only achieve 2000 rotations or 2 full cycles. After the initial cycles created from gaining the skill which had strengthened mortal body to this point, he could only achieve some small cycles beyond that. At that moment, Lin Feng already had the strength of 2000 Haruka rotations. Cultivators who had a strength inferior or equal to the second Xian-Qi layer couldn't harm him. It was impossible. They could use their full strength against him, but it would still be as if he hadn't been attacked at all. In comparison with before, even though Lin Feng could easily resist such cultivators using his full strength, he couldn't do it with only the power of his body. If a cultivator of the Ling-Qi layer had attacked him with a weapon when he wasn't able to defend, they were able to injure him and even put his life in danger, let alone someone from the Xian-Qi layer. My current Haruka strength can do 2000 rotations because my cultivation level is the third Xian-Qi layer. It seems that my mortal body has reached its limit. With the intent gained from the Haruka and the earth fusion, I can easily do 2 full cycles as well as 2 smaller cycles. So my rotations are still too slow. Lin Feng could sense the speed at which the Haruka strength was rotating through his body. The strength of that terrifying body skill couldn't rotate with full power immediately, otherwise the mortal body would become invincible in a flash. The problem was that practicing the 9 Haruka's skill made the mortal body become much stronger, but it was also extremely dangerous at the same time, because if it was strengthened beyond the body's limit, the flesh, veins and bones would be destroyed by the energy. Lin Feng stopped practicing, but his eyes were twinkling, as a great deal of purity stones appeared around him. He then started using his cosmos burning sun. In a flash, the purity stones were transformed into pure qi which was absorbed into Lin Feng's body. Lin Feng's body was transformed into a terrifying vortex, craving for strength. A light flashed and flames appeared around his body. The illusion was slowly being dispersed and Lin Feng's surroundings became much clearer again. Huh! Lin Feng was surprised and continued absorbing the qi from the purity stones. After a while, Lin Feng could feel that he had recovered a lot. He stood up and the terrifying flames which were burning all around his body rose up in the air. The flames transformed into a gigantic fire dragon which circled around the passageway. The illusion was becoming weaker. There were no more weapons whistling through the air. It was as if nothing had ever happened in the passageway. It was very mysterious. Sun skill. Cosmic burning sun. Lin Feng frowned and then smiled. It really deserved to be called a sun skill. Lin Feng hadn't realized that his sun skill was also efficient against illusions. It had the power to burn through everything, just like the sun. It seems like the illusion itself has weakened in intensity, thought Lin Feng. A moment before, when he had broken the door and entered the passageway, he was trapped the illusion and had used the fire of his black lotus, but the illusion hadn't been affected. However, after visualizing the Haruka, it seemed like the illusion had become much weaker. Now that Lin Feng practiced the 9 Harukas skill and started using his Cosmos Burning Sun, it was enough to destroy the illusion. Lin Feng practiced his Cosmos Burning Sun for a while and continued to absorb pure qi. In a flash, he could sense how powerful his physical strength was. Sharp lights were flashing in his eyes and Lin Feng whispered, "I need 3,000 rotations. I must achieve 3,000 rotations." Lin Feng's eyes turned pitch black and the image of a Haruka emerged from his body and rose up in the air. The illusion was faintly discernible. Lin Feng sat down cross-legged, concentrated his soul and heart on the image of the Haruka. He was silently studying the 9 Harukas skill. His bones were emitting cracking sounds and the strength of the 9 Harukas was circulating through his veins. Lin Feng's skin color started changing, but his face was deathly pale. He looked terrified. It was extremely painful. The 9 Harukas skill would alter the molecular structure of the body. After each cycle, the mortal body would grow stronger, but at the same time, the cultivator had to pay the price for it. The mortal body had to be destroyed and then reconstructed with each rotation, so practicing it was torture. So in order to become stronger, the cultivator had to suffer the pain of his body being destroyed thousands of times. That was also the reason why the ancient body skills disappeared with time. If a cultivator could practice some extremely powerful attack skills without pain, why would they practice a body skill which was extremely painful and risked death? But Lin Feng didn't see things that way. The strength of the Haruka skill was incredibly powerful. If his mortal body became stronger, it could save his life. Besides, if someone of the same cultivation layer as him attacked his body, there would be no damage at all, he would be invincible. Besides, with only one punch, he would be able to kill that person, without having to use any chi or special technique. He could win the battle with brute force. So why wouldn't he practice it? Lin Feng was immersed in his practice that he forgot about the pain and forgot about the time. In his mind, there was only one goal: become stronger. With such a monstrously powerful skill, it would never hurt to be diligent. That skill was incredible. Lin Feng's bones were shaking insanely, but at that moment, he was calmly enduring the pain. In his eyes, there was only the image of the Haruka. Lin Feng didn't stop studying and analyzing it, making the strength of the skill revolve faster and faster, thus making his body grow stronger faster. A black light flashed across Lin Feng's body and a subtle sound filled the air. All the light beams then disappeared and the image of the Haruka returned to his body. Lin Feng couldn't visualize it anymore, so he had to stop practicing. He opened his eyes, they were twinkling with excitement. Lin Feng moved his hand and cracking sounds filled the air. It was astonishing. What a terrifying strength. Lin Feng had a smile on the corner of his mouth. At that moment, his Haruka strength had rotated 3,000 times, giving his physical body the power of the 3rd Xian Qi layer. With only one punch, he could kill a cultivator at the 4th Xian Qi layer. Besides, he didn't need to use another skill, no technique was required, nothing, he only needed his fist to land on his enemy's body. Lin Feng would even be able to fight against cultivators of the 5th Xian Qi layer in close combat. His mortal body was so strong that he didn't need to be scared of being injured. Cultivators of the 5th Xian Qi wouldn't want to be punched by him, he would immediately kill them with a single blow. Of course, that was only if he didn't encounter anyone at the same level as him who had also practiced a powerful body skill, otherwise, Lin Feng was invincible at his level. Chapter 503, The Mysterious Picture. The illusion was slowly disappearing. After it entirely disappeared, Lin Feng could clearly see where he was. Everything had returned to normal. There were no whistling sounds anymore and no beams of light shot towards him. There was only a normal room which looked like a big hall inside the temple. After the illusion vanished, the room in which Lin Feng was inside seemed similar to the other rooms, but it was larger and didn't have all the decoration that the other rooms had. Lin Feng glanced around and saw a few doors as well as a black Haruka statue that drew his attention. Lin Feng slowly walked towards the statue and arrived at its feet. He had to raise his head to see the top of the statue. It was about 10 meters high and gave off a very imposing feeling. Something particularly surprising was that the statue looked alive, but it was exactly like the image Lin Feng had imagined. When visualizing the statue, his cultivation speed would increase. I don't know who put that statue there. Or how it was made. Sighed Lin Feng. That statue was so huge and looked so real, besides it contained its own intent. Lin Feng was puzzled, how did this statue end up there? Maybe it was left by some ancestors of the sect. But that didn't sound plausible, maybe an extremely strong cultivator created the statue. What's that? As Lin Feng was paying attention to the statue, he saw something was carved into the stone. Some small jet black characters were written. I created this statue here while I was bored and taking a break. Only a fairly powerful cultivator that can open the doors here and protect themselves from the illusions inside, but that cultivator needs an advanced power of understanding to learn the 9 Haruka's skill and break free from the illusion. Since you're reading my words, it means that you have a strong power of understanding and you have learnt the 9 Haruka's skill. Congratulations. Please cherish the skill, it is my gift to you. Concerning the statue, you can only look at it, it is forbidden to move or steal it. Of course, if you are extremely strong, you can move the statue or steal it, but you will have to deal with the catastrophic consequences, that is your own responsibility. Don't blame me. I am just a boring and insignificant person. Taking a break? Boring and insignificant person? Lin Feng smiled, he seemingly found it funny. The Yunhai sect had hidden the existence of the temple as if it had been a mystical ancient temple, but actually it was only a holiday home for a strange powerful cultivator. The one who created it didn't even care much about it. That person had only written a few words on the statue and offered a skill to the people who could pass his tests. Lin Feng was the only person who had obtained the 9 Haruka's skill all this time. A traveler. A bored traveling cultivator. Lin Feng shook his head. The world was really full of mysterious people. Lin Feng had always thought that this place was a mystical and mysterious temple, or was the tomb of an extremely strong cultivator, but looking around, it was clearly a place that some ancient cultivator came to relax at. He left a skill here because he was bored. It was as simple as that, it was nothing exceptional. Of course, maybe that traveler was there millions of years before, maybe that it was an extremely strong cultivator from ancient times. It's just that this holiday home had been preserved throughout the ages. A bored cultivator. Lin Feng smiled wryly and shook his head as if he couldn't believe his eyes. It was unbelievable. That temple which was revered was only a temporary residence, but Lin Feng had always thought that it was an incredibly mystical temple filled with ancient heritages and treasures. If someday I become strong enough, I will also leave a skill and write some words just like this. Then people will think that it is an incredible mystical temple when they find it, huh? Lin Feng suddenly whispered. Immediately after, he stopped thinking about it. Actually, now that he knew that it wasn't some mystical temple, he felt much more relaxed and didn't feel puzzled anymore. Lin Feng's mood was much better. Each time he learned something new, experienced new things and acquired experience, he felt relieved and carefree. He could gain a deeper understanding and have much better cultivation progress than when he was tense. One can only look at that statue but not move it. Lin Feng shivered. He stepped backwards and looked at that gigantic statue, there was nothing unusual at all. If he moved it, there would be some catastrophic consequences. He is just some bored cultivator, nothing more, he probably doesn't care. I don't need to take this too seriously, thought Lin Feng. He raised his hand and a particular light started twinkling, a black light. The strength of 3,000 rotations, let's see how strong that makes me, thought Lin Feng. He then moved like the wind and attacked the statue with his fist. Lin Feng's hand seemed like it was vibrating on the statue. Bzzzzzzzzz. Buzzing sounds were unceasingly spreading in the air. It seemed like the statue was moving a little. Lin Feng moved backwards again, a black light was flowing through his veins, he unleashed his monstrous physical strength and attacked the statue again. It seemed like it started to move a bit more. Nothing was happening. It seemed that even after moving the statue, nothing strange happened. Everything was normal. Lin Feng raised his hand and looked at it, he unleashed his physical strength and could sense his power distinctly. If his corporeal body was extremely strong, he wouldn't need to use pure qi and would be able to battle without interruption. Maybe it's just a prank. Lin Feng looked at the statue which had moved already and shook his head. He looked around him and then said confidently, "It seems like I have nothing to do here anymore." After that, Lin Feng turned around and left that room in a carefree manner as if nothing had happened. The winger tiger was waiting outside and when it saw Lin Feng it roared deeply. "Let's go," said Lin Feng while smiling. He had obtained the 9 Haruka's skill, he was already very satisfied. It was a fortunate encounter, so he wasn't going to go back to the Imperial City empty-handed. He hadn't wasted his time. They quickly left the mountain, the winger tiger started beating its wings and they both left in a natural and unrestrained manner. The door of the cliff closed itself again and it looked like a normal cliff face again, as if there hadn't been anything at all, as if there was no temple hidden inside. After Lin Feng left, inside the illusion room of the temple, nobody noticed it but at the foot of the statue, a pale light started twinkling. Suddenly, it became dazzling, extremely dazzling. It looked incredibly dangerous. A few veins started appearing and didn't stop flashing, they then formed into the pattern of a landscape. It was a picture, there were lakes, mountains, rivers. On that picture, there were beautiful women, mountains, rivers, waterfalls and lakes, nothing was missing. It seemed like that picture was alive. The most astonishing was that it wasn't over, new patterns and new landscapes were appearing as if someone was painting it. Then, the things in that picture started moving slowly. Very quickly, a terrifying fire chi emerged from the picture. The landscape suddenly disappeared as if it had never existed and was replaced by an endless fire, a terrifying fire, it looked like it would burn everything it touched. In the picture, there was only fire, sometimes, some human silhouettes would appear but very quickly they disappeared, burnt to ashes. At that moment, Lin Feng wasn't there but if he had been there, he would have been extremely surprised. That picture was extraordinarily mysterious. Boom! Waves of fire started to roll outside of the picture invading the room immediately. The fire had suddenly emerged from the picture. How frightening! If Lin Feng had been there, he would have probably thought about the words carved on the statue. It is forbidden to move the statue. Chapter 504, Tian Feng's provocations in the Imperial City. Many people were talking about Lin Feng, about the fact that he had destroyed the holy courtyard of Shuiyu, revived the Yunhai sect, and had then established it within the Imperial City. Every day people mentioned Lin Feng's name. A great majority was talking about him in a respectful way, they admired and venerated him. He was so young and carefree, he could accomplish great things. Of course, many people also didn't like him, for example, the person who was standing in front of the Yunhai sect at that moment. Mu Qing had already been in Shuiyu for a few days, he was from Tian Feng. Mu Qing hadn't come with the envoys from Tian Feng. His natural abilities and strength was actually very high. Amongst the people from Tian Feng who had come to Shuiyu, only the Prince Feng Chen and the 7 envoys could compete with him. The number of people allowed to participate in the great competition of Shuiyu was still not fixed, considering the course of events, some changes still had to be made. Besides, because the time of the great competition of Shuiyu wasn't fixed, some people were worried that other cultivators would become stronger and break through to the next cultivation layer at the last minute. One could imagine if there were 2 people who were at the same cultivation level and one was weaker than the other, if the weaker one broke through to the next cultivation layer, their roles might be reversed. The one who used to be weaker would then become the stronger of the 2. Amongst ordinary people, someone stronger by one cultivation layer could easily kill the other, but not everybody thought that way. At least, Mu Qing didn't agree with that. Mu Qing wasn't even 20 years old and had broken through to the 5th Xian-Qi layer. He had extremely high natural abilities and was a member of the Wanxiang sect of Tianfeng. He was the most outstanding disciple within his sect. He didn't want to become one of the 7 envoys because he wasn't interested in sharing his fame with a group of people. Besides, he liked to be alone. He was very selfish and egocentric. I heard that Lin Feng could kill people of the 5th Xian-Qi layer, so why is he not coming out to face me? I really don't know why he thinks that he can act so aggressively and arrogantly. Now he's too scared to come out, thought Mu Qing as he was facing the Yunhai sect. Inside of the Yunhai sect, there were many people that were glaring at Mu Qing, but nobody dared come out. If they dared to go out, Mu Qing would kill them. Concerning the 36 women, even though they were strong, they were also a strange subgroup of the Yunhai sect, and when Lin Feng wasn't there, nobody could give them orders. They were extremely stubborn and would only listen to Lin Feng's orders, so they weren't moving. Isn't Lin Feng meant to be carefree and unrestrained? I am here, and I have been waiting for 2 hours. Why is he cowering like a turtle hiding in its shell? He doesn't even dare come out. How ridiculous, said Mu Qing in an ice-cold tone. His voice was loud and resonated throughout the entire territory of the Yunhai sect, so everybody heard him. The crowd was stupefied. What an aggressive person. He was waiting at the door and challenging Lin Feng. Why wasn't Lin Feng coming out? Was he really scared of that person? But the crowd had the feeling that Lin Feng wouldn't be scared. He had killed 5 cultivators of the 5th Xian-Qi layer alone, and had managed to wound a cultivator of the 6th Xian-Qi layer. Why did he need to be afraid? Lin Feng was probably behind closed doors, practicing cultivation. Many people in the Yunhai sect were glaring at Mu Qing. At that moment, they realized that even though they were the Qi Xia troops, they weren't exceptionally strong as individuals. There weren't many cultivators of the Xian-Qi layer within their group. Even if they were many people, it was impossible for them to defeat cultivators who were so much stronger than them. Besides, if 10,000 cultivators came out to fight against one person, it would seem insane. Everybody at the Yunhai sect needed to become stronger. They needed to be able to protect themselves when Lin Feng wasn't there. That was essential for them to be considered as a strong sect. They couldn't rely on just a single person. This time, I was polite, but if Lin Feng doesn't come out, I will come in and kill everybody. It will end up in a bloodbath, said Mu Qing, whose eyes were twinkling with ice-cold glints. If Lin Feng didn't come out, he would go inside and slaughter the members of the Yunhai sect. Nobody replied to him. They only saw Mr. Huo walk towards the gate of the Yunhai sect. He then slowly turned around and said indifferently, "Let's go." Then he took some people and walked away, towards the depths of the Yunhai sect. Mu Qing was shocked. All right, very good. Mu Qing was stupefied, and then he immediately entered the Yunhai sect. If Lin Feng didn't want to come out, then he would go inside and kill everybody. But at the moment when Mu Qing entered the territory of the Yunhai sect, everybody gradually became blurry figures. In the blink of an eye, everything disappeared from his field of vision. Witchcraft, Mu Qing was stupefied. At the moment when he had entered in the territory of the Yunhai sect, everything had changed, everything became foggy. At that moment, he couldn't see his surroundings any longer. There was only a thick white fog floating around which made him lose his sense of direction. He took another step and started running forward at full speed, but a moment after, he realized that he was still in the middle of the fog. He couldn't come out, that fog was endless. Mu Qing was astonished. That illusion wasn't only surrounding the sect, it was also inside the sect. It caused people to hallucinate and it could affect their senses. It would slowly drive people insane. Witchcraft. An illusion formation. The people who were outside of the Yunhai sect were astonished. They could see the crowd of people and Mu Qing who had entered the Yunhai sect. They could still see him, but it seemed like he had suddenly gone blind. He couldn't see anything anymore. In the clear areas of the Yunhai sect, clouds of smoke continued to rise in spirals engulfing Mu Qing's body. He immediately disappeared from the crowd's field of vision. What a powerful illusion! I wouldn't have thought that the Yunhai sect would have such a powerful defense against their enemies. Who made it? Thought many people. It seemed like when Lin Feng destroyed the holy courtyard and established the Yunhai sect there, he had already planned everything in advance. That illusion was able to imprison a cultivator of the 5th Xian Qi layer. How powerful. But Mr. Hua and the others didn't seem relaxed at all. Mu Qing didn't understand illusions, which was why it was working on him, but if he understood illusions, it would have been completely different. He could have easily broken free and started attacking. Besides, Mu Qing had come to challenge Lin Feng, and if Lin Feng didn't come back quickly, maybe even stronger cultivators would come and the Yunhai sect would be in a critical situation. What's going on? At the moment when the crowd was lost in thought, a voice came from the distance and filled the air. The members of the Yunhai sect were surprised. They turned around and saw a human that was riding a ferocious beast flying towards them. The winger tiger continued to beat its wings and was approaching very quickly. The people of the Yunhai sect, when they saw Lin Feng, broke out into smiles. Lin Feng was back. Everything would be alright now that Lin Feng had returned. Lin Feng had become a symbol, the symbol of the Qi Xia army, and the symbol of the Yunhai sect. Lin Feng had the strength of the 3rd Xian Qi layer. He had practiced cultivation, step by step, and became a towering figure. He was now able to kill cultivators of the 5th Xian Qi layer, and killing those weaker than that was like crushing an ant for him. Sometimes, people would sigh when thinking about how monstrous Lin Feng was. Nothing could stop him. If Lin Feng didn't die, he would soar into the heavens. Lin Feng. Everybody was stupefied. No wonder Lin Feng hadn't come out when Mu Qing was provoking him. He had left the sect. He wasn't even at the Yunhai sect to witness these events. It seemed like there was still hope. The winger tiger was beating his wings and creating hurricanes in the air. Then Lin Feng immediately jumped off the back of the winged tiger and landed in front of everybody, but a sharp light was twinkling in his eyes as he was staring at the outskirts of the illusion. Lin Feng, that person's name is Mu Qing and he comes from Tianfeng. He wants to challenge you. He said that if you didn't come out he would come inside and kill us all. He also said that he would kill anyone trying to leave the Yunhai sect. He actually killed a few people as they tried to leave. Then he came in by himself to kill us, but is now a prisoner of the illusion. Explained Mr. Hua to Lin Feng. Lin Feng was standing there, motionless, and a cold light was flashing in his eyes. The people from Tianfeng again. Chapter 505. The stronger cultivator Lin Feng took a step forwards and disappeared from everyone's sight. He had entered the illusion. In the middle of the mist and fog, Lin Feng and Mu Qing could not be seen by other people. Many people were annoyed because they wanted to know what was going to happen inside the illusion. In the illusion, Mu Qing was frowning intensely and running like a madman while looking for an exit. But at that moment, he suddenly stopped running and was stupefied. He then slowly turned around and saw a young man standing there. That young man was even younger than him and he looked extremely fierce. Lin Feng? Asked Mu Qing in an ice-cold tone while frowning. Lin Feng didn't reply but looked at him coldly and said, "You're looking for me?" When Mu Qing heard Lin Feng he smiled and said, "Let's get out of the illusion first. I heard that you were really strong, you humiliated my country, so I want to challenge you to a battle." "Why would we need to get out of the illusion? We can stay in here," said Lin Feng indifferently. Mu Qing looked glum and said, "If we stay here, am I not in a disadvantageous position? You think too highly of yourself. In order to defeat you, I don't need an illusion," said Lin Feng in a cold and detached tone. He then immediately started running like the wind, and in a flash appeared in front of Mu Qing. He immediately punched the atmosphere in Mu Qing's direction. Humph. When Mu Qing saw that Lin Feng attacked immediately, he groaned coldly. Lin Feng was really audacious. He had only broken through to the third Xian Qi layer and was surprisingly punching him. He wasn't even using pure Qi with his attack. He was definitely looking for death. The strength of a cultivator of the third Xian Qi layer was absolutely different from that of a cultivator of the fifth Xian Qi layer. The difference was incomparable. Very quickly, their fists collided, producing a sharp snap. When their two fists collided, Mu Qing looked stunned. A terrifying strength emerged from Lin Feng's fist and penetrated into Mu Qing's fist, spreading throughout his body and projected him backwards. How strong! Lin Feng's physical strength was terrifying. Lin Feng's fist was harder than steel. Lin Feng didn't chase him, he was just staring at Mu Qing in an ice-cold way. Mu Qing was also staring at Lin Feng. His fist felt numb. He condensed some pure qi inside his fist to reduce the pain. It seemed like he had underestimated Lin Feng. "Another scum from Tian Feng," said Lin Feng indifferently. Immediately after, he started running again. Mu Qing was astonished. Scum. Lin Feng was insulting him, he was humiliating Tian Feng again. A coarse and wild light appeared from Mu Qing's hand. It was faintly discernible. Mu Qing didn't try to avoid Lin Feng, instead he immediately attacked again. An elephant appeared around Mu Qing's fist and it was moving straight towards Lin Feng. It contained the strength of 1,000 elephants. The elephant seemed like it had endless strength. This was the 10,000 elephants skill. It allowed the user to use the strength of up to 10,000 elephants with each blow. Boom boom boom. The mist and fog rolled in waves. Lin Feng and Mu Qing's fists had collided once again. This time, nobody was projected backwards, they were both standing steadily. What do you think? I just used the strength of 1,000 elephants right now, but if I use the strength of 10,000 elephants, you will definitely die," said Mu Qing while staring at Lin Feng and smiling. "Some people from Xiangjiang Lake were looking for you, but it seems that they don't need to anymore because I will kill you right now." "Now die," said Mu Qing. Immediately after, inside Lin Feng appeared a terrifying black light and a monstrous physical strength emerged from his body as it crashed against Mu Qing's fist, which made him shake from head to toe while being knocked backwards. Mu Qing looked tense and nervous. He had been very careful, but in the blink of an eye, Lin Feng had caused him to move back again. That was the second time. He was losing face. "You want to die?" shouted Mu Qing furiously. His body started to emit whistling sounds. It seemed like 10,000 elephants were rampaging through his body. The 10,000 elephants skill has the strength of 10,000 elephants, they can trample and crush everything in their path. "Die!" shouted Mu Qing. His entire body seemed like it was transforming into an elephant as he unleashed the strength of 10,000 elephants. He then threw himself towards Lin Feng. The 10,000 elephants skill increased his strength. He was stomping across the ground like a herd of 10,000 elephants, as one can well imagine. The atmosphere seemed like it was going to break apart under the strength of those 10,000 elephants. The strength of 10,000 elephants. A cultivator of the 5th Xian Qi layer, thought Lin Feng. A strange and ominous light started to envelop his body. A black light flowed out from his body and started rotating around him. His fist was surrounded by a black light. "Let's see how powerful my 9 Haruka skill is when in rotation," thought Lin Feng. He wasn't flinching at all. He took a step forwards and threw himself at Mu Qing. That fist bombarded the atmosphere and it seemed like it was destroying space itself. The fist seemed like it could crush gods and devils. It was a Haruka fist. 3,000 rotations of the Haruka. Boom! The 10,000 elephants and the Haruka collided furiously, the entire atmosphere became distorted. Between Mu Qing and Lin Feng, a terrifying vortex appeared. How's that possible? How's that possible? Mu Qing pulled a long face. His 10,000 elephants skill was the secret skill of his sect, the Wanxiang sect. It had a formidable power and its strength was incredible. It had the power to crush anything. He could even kill people at the same level easily by using that skill. However, Lin Feng had only broken through to the third Xian Qi layer and wasn't even using a sword or a skill. If he had used a skill and was able to resist Mu Qing, that would have been understandable, but he hadn't. He only used a single fist to block the strength of 10,000 elephants. Get lost. Lin Feng stepped forwards. He only took a very small step. The black light circulated through his body, a terrifying physical strength then crashed onto Mu Qing's arm, a cracking sound spread in the air and Mu Qing's body was once again projected backwards. He had lost. His 10,000 elephants skill wasn't able to rival with Lin Feng's 9 harukas. However, it wasn't over yet. While Mu Qing was being projected backwards, he suddenly sensed a gust of wind arrive in front of him. Lin Feng had followed him and was releasing some deadly qi which landed on his body. Mu Qing started shaking from head to toe. Die! Said Lin Feng in a deep voice and punched him again. 10,000 elephants, said Mu Qing again while raising both his hands to block, but Lin Feng's fist crashed onto his body and blood burst into the air. Lin Feng's physical strength was terrifying. Besides, he wasn't doing the same things as Mu Qing. He didn't need to condense his pure qi to activate a skill before he attacked. Instead, Lin Feng's fist only contained pure physical strength. Boom! 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 Terrifying explosion sounds spread through the air and the mist of the illusion continued to churn. The people outside of the Yunhai sect were fixedly staring at the mist of the illusion. What was happening? Who was winning? Lin Feng or Mu Qing? Ah! A horrible shriek of agony spread in the air. It was Mu Qing's voice. Lin Feng is way too terrifying. As expected, Mu Qing can't rival with Lin Feng. He came here to kill the members of the Yunhai sect, which was the same as courting death, thought the crowd. Besides, at that moment, inside the illusion, Mu Qing's face was covered with blood, all of his orifices were pouring with blood. Lin Feng didn't stop punching him and Mu Qing was severely injured already. Lin Feng was like a madman. Lin Feng looked like a warlord at that moment. He was fixedly staring at Mu Qing and was getting ready to attack him again. I don't want to fight anymore, shouted Mu Qing furiously, which surprised Lin Feng. He didn't want to anymore. I came here to tell you that some people are looking for you, some people from Tianfeng. They want you to come to Xiangjiang Lake. Will you dare to accept or not? Said Mu Qing. He had stopped fighting. Lin Feng looked like he found all of this amusing. He had a smile covering his face and said, I will go, but first I will kill you. I am only a messenger, said Mu Qing while looking extremely nervous. He looked terrified. A messenger? You said you wanted to kill the members of the Yunhai sect, and even said you came into the territory of the Yunhai sect to kill them. That is your message, right? What do you want? Mu Qing was fixedly staring at Lin Feng. I want your life, said Lin Feng. His silhouette flickered, he moved like the wind and the strength of his 3,000 haruka rotations bombarded Mu Qing's body. Blood splashed from every orifice of his body and his bones were crushed. Then another light appeared. It was pure qi that was as sharp as a sword. Mu Qing's head then flew through the air. He was dead. Chapter 506, Confrontation of Fire. Lin Feng's silhouette flew into the sky through the mist which enveloped the territory of the Yunhai sect. Qiong Qi! Shouted Lin Feng. Then Lin Feng's winged tiger immediately rushed underneath him in the air. While sitting on the winged tiger's back, he rushed into the distance while emitting a whistling sound. He was so fast that some people didn't even have the chance to look up. Everybody was stunned. The crowd was still looking at the mist as it slowly started to disperse. Once the mist had dispersed, the crowd noticed a body on the ground. Phew, many of the crowd inhaled deeply. That was a corpse. The body no longer had a head. Instead, there was only a gaping wound which was pouring out blood. It was gruesome. Lin Feng has become so powerful, thought the crowd, gasping with admiration. Mu Qing's strength was incredible. They had already seen him display his skill when killing those who left the Yunhai sect. Lin Feng killed him without a second thought. He was merciless. Lin Feng's strength was obvious. He had already proven his strength many times. They could hear the sounds coming from within the mist, which seemed like a great battle, but instead it was only Lin Feng attacking Mu Qing in a one-sided slaughter. I wonder where Lin Feng went. While the crowd was wondering where Lin Feng was going, his winged tiger was beating its wings madly through the sky. After a short moment, they arrived above the lake. In the past, Lin Feng became famous across Shuiyu at this lake. This time, Mu Qing told him that some people were looking for him and waiting at the lake. As expected, when Lin Feng arrived at the lake, he saw a group of people waiting. They slowly rose into the air when they noticed Lin Feng. They were all wearing red and white robes, and staring at Lin Feng. Lin Feng suddenly felt hot. It felt like flames were emerging from those people's eyes. Lin Feng was riding his winged tiger and only glanced at them before saying, "Were you all waiting here for me?" There were more than a dozen people waiting there for him. Besides, the gaze from them seemed extremely dangerous. They were probably very strong, without a single weak link in their group. "Indeed, we've been waiting for a long time," said a middle-aged man wearing a long fire-red changpao while nodding. His changpao was fluttering in the wind. He looked dignified and extraordinary. "Are you from Tianfeng?" asked Lin Feng again. He had never heard of them in Shuiyu, so they shouldn't be from Shuiyu. Also Mu Qing, their messenger, was from Tianfeng, which made it highly likely that they were too. "Xiahua School, from Tianfeng," said the middle-aged man coldly before adding, "Lin Feng, it seems like Mu Qing didn't manage to kill you. It seems that I will have a chance to kill you with my own hands. Killing you will actually be an honor for me." "The people of Tianfeng are really pathetic," joked Lin Feng. Since the banquet at the Duanwu Palace, the people originating from Tianfeng continued to give him a bad impression. The envoys were insufferably arrogant and, as an attempt to humiliate Lin Feng, continued to insult him. Lin Feng had to kill 2 of them and humiliate the rest. This was the only thing which made them shut their mouths. But at that moment, they were even sending people secretly to kill him. First it was Mu Qing, now were these people from the Xiehua school. They all had the same goal, to kill Lin Feng. But Lin Feng's life wasn't something easily taken just because someone wanted to. "How did you know that I would even come here?" asked Lin Feng. They had been waiting, but how were they so sure that he would come? Nobody could have guessed what he was thinking. "The prince knew you would," said the middle-aged man while smiling and sounding extremely confident. Feng Chan, even though he had only met Lin Feng once, understood the type of temperament Lin Feng had. He knew that Lin Feng would not back down from an open challenge. "Well then, you must have also known that I would kill Mu Qing?" asked Lin Feng coldly. Since Feng Chen thought that he knew Lin Feng so well, if he understood that Lin Feng would accept the challenge, he must have also known that Lin Feng would kill Mu Qing. After all, Feng Chen had seen how strong Lin Feng was, and he also knew how Mu Qing's temperament was along with his strength. As expected, the middle-aged man smiled. Lin Feng immediately understood that Feng Chen wanted Mu Qing dead. How ridiculous! Mu Qing actually thought that he was strong enough to act so wildly, but was used instead. "Telling you now won't be of any harm." Mu Qing was the best disciple of the biggest sect in the country, the Wanxiang sect. However, because they are the strongest, they have a lot of influence and are extremely arrogant. They even look down on the imperial family of Tianfeng. Mu Qing was their best disciple, but he was the same as everyone else in the sect who believed that his sect was more important than the country and the 7 envoys. That kind of person is useless to the country, therefore the prince, His Highness, decided to send him to his death. He borrowed your power to kill his enemy, explained the middle-aged man, which made Lin Feng frown and then smile. It seems like you have absolutely no confidence. You clearly don't believe that your group has the ability to kill me, or else you would have attacked already, said Lin Feng, which surprised his interlocutor. He looked at Lin Feng and then gave an evil smile. Lin Feng, you're very smart. Feng Chen used me to kill Mu Qing in order to solve his problem. I killed Mu Qing, so the Wanxiang sect will come to Shuiyu for their revenge. If I don't die today, the Wanxiang sect will definitely come to kill me. But Shuiyu will not let such a strong influential group enter their territory with an army, so a battle will be unavoidable, causing the Wanxiang sect to fall from power. Lin Feng's eyes filled with a cold light. The people from imperial families were all like that. Feng Chen was always scheming, and so was Duan Wuya. Xiahua School, you were sent here to kill me, but you are informing me of Feng Chen's scheme. You have no grudge against me and have no confidence in killing me, but you have to follow orders. So you came here while planning something else. You came here to inform me of the scheme, so I will be able to inform the Wanxiang sect of Feng Chen's scheme. It seems like you people from the Xiahua School attach no importance to your own lives. It seems like you want the one you address as Your Highness to die. You're incredible, said the middle-aged man. Lin Feng was completely correct. They were treated the same as Mu Qing, they were just Feng Chen's pawns to be used. Their deaths would anger the Xiahua School, but they were different from Mu Qing because they wanted to expose Feng Chen. They wanted to inform Lin Feng of the scheme to use it against Feng Chen if they died. We, the Xiahua School, will attempt to kill you as ordered. If we are unlucky and are killed by you, we hope that you will spread the news of Feng Chen's scheme. It wouldn't bring you any disadvantages but instead benefits, said the middle-aged man. Since Lin Feng had guessed everything, he didn't need to hide anything and immediately admitted his plan. If it is necessary, I will share what I know. Feng Chen wants me dead, but that isn't for him to decide. Lin Feng's eyes were twinkling with cold lights. He then added, let's fight then. All right. The middle-aged man while staring at Lin Feng. He had already known Lin Feng's strength. He had heard what happened during the banquet. Lin Feng had challenged each of the 7 envoys that attended the banquet. He had even killed the 3rd envoy and challenged the 2nd, but the ambassador from the Dragon Mountain Empire stopped them. Even though the people from the Xiahua School were strong, they still had to be vigilant when facing someone as powerful as Lin Feng. Evil scorching fire, shouted the middle-aged man in the fire-red Chang Pao in a cold voice. In a flash, all the people's silhouettes flickered and surrounded Lin Feng. Fire ignited around their bodies. It was a terrifying fire made of pure qi. The Xiahua School were all fire cultivators, they all practiced fire skills and would battle using condensed fire qi. Fire was burning around their bodies, the fire was intense. Apart from the fire-red color, the flames also contained a large amount of white, their flames were haunting. The people from the Xiahua formed a circle and joined hands. In a flash, flames began to fill the air to create a ring of fire that surrounded Lin Feng. Die! Shouted the man in the fire-red Chang Pao in a low voice. A ring of fire then closed in towards Lin Feng. The heat from the flames grew more intense as they closed in on Lin Feng. Lin Feng felt like he was being roasted alive. Everything in this world is incredibly mysterious, their fire is very different from mine, thought Lin Feng when he compared his own fire with the fire he was confronted with. He looked glum. He then released his sun qi from his body, which caused flames to engulf his body. He started rise into the air while glowing radiantly. The sun fire suppressed the flames that surrounded him. His cosmos burning sun was a small sun skill after all. Surprisingly, their fire seemed to be prostrating itself before the sun's skill. The people from the Xiahua school were stupefied. They didn't know that Lin Feng was practicing a sun skill, because Lin Feng normally used his grim fire. The fact that he practiced a sun skill was not widely known. Besides, Lin Feng's fire was much stronger than theirs. Chapter 507, The Terrifying Banner. Die! Shouted another cultivator in the group. The multitude of flames which surrounded Lin Feng transformed into fire snakes. Apart from their scorching heat, Lin Feng could also sense a cold evil qi. Lin Feng was completely surrounded by their flames. "Qiong Qi, get back!" said Lin Feng to his winged tiger using telepathy. In a flash, the winged tiger moved away. At the same time a fire emerged from Lin Feng's hand which rushed towards an enemy. Break! That person blocked Lin Feng's fire using his own. Both fires merged together, but Lin Feng's fire grew less and less discernible until it completely disappeared. It seemed like his sun qi was actually engulfed. Besides, the enemy's fire had grown in power. "Evil fire dragon!" shouted their leader in a deep voice. Those people shook their hands, and in a flash more flames emerged from their hands and rushed into the air. They formed into a fire dragon which roared towards Lin Feng. That fire dragon moved like it was alive. It flew through the air and its eyes even had pupils. It looked incredibly evil and sinister. Roar! The fire dragon roared as its head arrived in front of Lin Feng in the blink of an eye. Back! Lin Feng moved with the wind at full speed. Besides, his winged tiger immediately moved into the distance. The winged tiger was strong, but because its level was too low, it couldn't participate in the battle. It would just become a burden to Lin Feng if it stayed too close. What a fast fire dragon! Lin Feng was stupefied. The people from the Xiahua school formed a straight line and started chanting an incantation while closing their eyes and frowning. They looked like they were in deep concentration. "They're using their souls to control the flames," thought Lin Feng. He was shocked. That evil fire dragon was staring at Lin Feng coldly. It really seemed to be alive. Those strong cultivators from the Xiahua school had many ingenious ways to use their fire compared with Lin Feng. They could even use their souls to control it. They combined their soul power to control all of the flames and the fire dragon. Roar! The fire dragon abruptly flew through the air and rushed straight towards Lin Feng. It was extremely fast, like an illusion. It had already reached Lin Feng. Lin Feng sensed the change in the wind and retreated, but the dragon continued chasing him. It wouldn't let Lin Feng escape. The two silhouettes, the dragon and Lin Feng, flickered and moved through the sky at full speed. It was unimaginable. What a terrifying fire dragon! If I wasn't able to feel the movements of the wind, it would have killed me a long time ago, thought Lin Feng. Lin Feng could use his incredible soul power to sense the changes in the wind. He could clearly sense the movements of the dragon, but he couldn't escape. It was too fast. The leader of that group was staring at Lin Feng, following his movements closely. Lin Feng's speed was incredible. No wonder he was able to kill the third envoy. It was probably mostly due to his speed. It was probably the main reason why the third envoy wasn't able to compete with Lin Feng. "Since you are using your souls to control the flames, I will take care of them," thought Lin Feng. His eyes grew colder. He started to condense incredible amounts of pure qi which surrounded his body. A lotus flower suddenly appeared in his hand. It contained a faintly discernible black light. He then condensed it into his grim fire black lotus. Huh! The leader of the enemies looked at the black lotus which Lin Feng was condensing in his hand and was shocked. It seemed like it contained deadly qi. It felt as if it would explode at any moment. The fire dragon continued following Lin Feng closely. It wasn't going to let Lin Feng escape. However, at that moment, Lin Feng suddenly turned around and stopped moving. While turning around, he raised his hand. "Return," shouted the middle-aged man, but the fire dragon and Lin Feng were moving too fast. At the moment when Lin Feng stopped, the fire dragon was already in front of Lin Feng and crashed into the Black Lotus. It was already night in the Imperial City, so the lotus seemed extremely ordinary in the darkness of the night. It immediately crashed into the dragon's head and penetrated straight through. A terrifying yet subtle sound filled the air. That tiny black lotus released a terrifying deadly energy which started to rip apart the dragon. "Die!" shouted Lin Feng in a deep voice while moving back. The deadly energy of the black lotus was emitting whistling sounds in the air. It formed into a black hole which swallowed the entire dragon. It seemed like there was a hole torn in the atmosphere which was filled with deadly energy. Nobody could approach that terrifying vortex. All the people from the Xiahua school groaned as their faces turned deathly pale. Blood splashed out from their mouths as their souls received tremendous damage. They were all using their souls to control the fire dragon, otherwise they wouldn't have been able to control such a powerful fire dragon. How terrifying! They all opened their eyes and fixedly stared at the black lotus which had formed a black hole. It completely swallowed their fire dragon. Lin Feng's grim flames were surprisingly still burning in the air. It was terrifying. Lin Feng rose higher into the sky and looked at the group of enemies with a cold light in his eyes. You all used your souls to control the fire dragon to attack, but it was destroyed. Now it's my turn to attack, said Lin Feng. He then raised his hand and the image of a banner appeared on it. Rise! Lin Feng opened his hand and in the blink of an eye, he was holding a gigantic banner which was fluttering in the wind. A banner! The opponents were stupefied and their pupils shrank. Lin Feng had something as precious as a banner. The banner had a sun pattern on the flag and it was engulfed with intense flames. This banner is my sun banner, this is the first time that I will be using it, said Lin Feng coldly, causing all those people to pull a long face. Lin Feng surprisingly had a sun banner. And its strength was incredible. A moment before, you were chasing me, now it's my turn, said Lin Feng while taking a step. The enemies didn't know what to do. In one step, Lin Feng had appeared in front of them. He appeared like the wind. Then his sun banner fell from above as its shadow covered their bodies. Back, quickly, hollered the leader of the group furiously. The others all reacted quickly and started to retreat, but two of them were caught by the banner which started to burn with intense flames. They gave horrible shrieks as they were inside the banner, burning alive. At the same time, the banner was devouring their fire chi like a glutton. The others were fixedly staring at the banner and could only see the two silhouettes screaming inside. It was the two people who were caught earlier. They were still alive, but they were suffering in agony. They hadn't died because the banner was still absorbing their power by burning them alive in its flames. That banner was an extremely cruel weapon. The others who hadn't been caught were shaking from head to toe. That banner was an extremely rare and precious treasure. Its power was shocking. Cultivators who were able to create a banner were extremely rare. Only extraordinary cultivators had the ability to forge a banner. Banners were mysterious items which could trap enemies and absorb their power. Lin Feng's sun banner could absorb people in order to kill them. The banner only had to envelop them and it would grow more powerful. For those in control of such a banner, they would only obtain advantages from fighting. There were also spiritual banners which could absorb souls to grow stronger. How cruel and scary! Many people were as scared of such weapons as they were the stuff of nightmares. Lin Feng didn't think too much. After absorbing those two people, he continued to move at full speed, arriving in front of those who had just dodged his first attack. In the blink of an eye, another 3 people were absorbed into his banner. The fire ignited again and horrible shrieks resonated through the atmosphere as their power was being absorbed. Let's go, let's run, each of us should go in different directions, shouted the leader whose eyes were bloodshot. The black lotus which had swallowed their fire dragon was much less scary than that banner. When Lin Feng was at the banquet, he was extremely far from using his full strength. Lin Feng's strength was incredible. Cultivators at the 4th or the 5th Xianqi layer wouldn't stand a chance against him, there was no exception. At that moment, they no longer cared about their orders to kill Lin Feng. They only wanted to escape. Even if only a few of them managed to escape and were executed, that would be much better than being caught inside that banner. They still had hope. Chapter 508, To the Imperial Palace, You Want to Escape. Lin Feng smiled coldly as he rushed forwards, his banner fluttered and horrible shrieks filled the air. 2 more had been caught in the banner and their pure qi was being absorbed. The leader of the group gnashed his teeth and blood splashed out from his mouth. He started to flee with all of his power, he wanted to escape at all costs. But at that moment, a cold wind appeared next to him which caused him to shiver. He suddenly looked glum, the banner was flying towards him with a ferocious wind. How dangerous! The middle-aged man was deathly pale. Immediately after, he noticed a silhouette had appeared in front of him, it was Lin Feng. Even if the others don't die, you have to die, said Lin Feng. These people had come here to kill him and someone had to bear the responsibility of their actions. The middle-aged man in the fire-red Chang Pao was the leader of the group, so he of course had to bear the responsibility. Feng Chen would also be held responsible. They came here with orders to kill Lin Feng. If they were strong enough, they would have taken Lin Feng's life without mercy. They deserved their deaths. I was forced to come, why be so cruel as to kill me? That middle-aged man was pulling a long face and his voice was trembling. He was still hoping that he still had a chance to live. No matter if you were forced or not, you attempted to kill me. If you were stronger than me, you would have already killed me even if you were forced to do it, said Lin Feng in an ice-cold way. That was his basic principles, if someone wanted to kill him, he would kill them, that was the only reason he needed. It was just like the Haoyu sect, the Ice and Snow Mountain Village, the holy courtyard of Shuiyu and everyone who destroyed the Yunhai sect. Once Lin Feng was strong enough, he exterminated them for attempting to take his life. Everyone would be held responsible for the actions they took, even if they were forced. The middle-aged man remained silent and didn't push the issue, he understood Lin Feng would definitely kill him. If the situation was reversed, he wouldn't let anyone escape and would kill all of his attackers. If someone attempted to kill a person, but that person was stronger and allowed their enemies to live, they would be called a very kind-hearted individual and also, extremely stupid. Some pure qi emerged from the middle-aged man's hand, he groaned coldly and a huge fire started burning violently around him. Humph! Lin Feng groaned coldly. Without saying anything, he immediately took a step forwards and his sun banner moved to envelop his opponent. Burn! Shouted the middle-aged man furiously. Flames emerged from his hand, unceasingly. Break! The wind was whistling as the banner rushed through the atmosphere, the banner was approaching and the middle-aged man's fire that was bombarding the banner only to be absorbed inside. He could release as much fire as he wished, but the banner would only consume it as if it was a rare delicacy. The middle-aged pulled a long face and grew more pale. He knew that it was possible to burn the banner, even though it was a sun banner. However, it seemed like his strength wasn't able to bring any harm to the banner. His fire was only being absorbed. The flames in the banner were much stronger than his own fire. I should finish it now, said Lin Feng. His body rushed forward and his sun banner completely engulfed his opponent after absorbing all of the fire he released. The sound of a rampaging inferno filled the air. The middle-aged man was engulfed in flames inside the banner, his soul was being refined by the banner. All of his power was slowly being absorbed by the banner. The sun banner was surrounded by terrifying flames, the flames were growing more powerful with each passing moment, while the sun pattern on the banner started to fill up with the fire qi from his enemies. The banner had absorbed this power from all the enemies it burned alive. But Lin Feng didn't absorb that fire qi himself, instead, he returned it to the sun banner. He needed the enemy's fire qi to be purified since it was different from his own. Absorbing such an impure fire would make his cultivation become unstable. If Lin Feng's cultivation became unstable, that would be a catastrophe for him. It wasn't a result that he desired. Lin Feng would never allow his cultivation to grow unstable for gaining a small amount of power. However, leaving the enemy's fire inside his sun banner wasn't a problem. At that moment, only Lin Feng remained. The others had escaped and were probably fleeing for their lives. Those who hadn't managed to escape were already dead, they had been absorbed into Lin Feng's banner. Lin Feng quickly retrieved his banner as an ice-cold light flashed through his eyes. "Qiong Qi!" shouted Lin Feng in a deep voice. The winged tiger's silhouette flickered, and beat its wings and immediately arrived next to Lin Feng. It then positioned itself to allow Lin Feng onto its back. The winged tiger was an ancient ferocious beast. Even though it was extremely cruel and bloodthirsty, it always obeyed Lin Feng, regardless of its temperament. Lin Feng jumped onto its back and they flew away. The sight of someone riding an ancient ferocious beast was incredibly majestic. "To the imperial palace," said Lin Feng. Prince Fengchen of Tianfeng thought that he could do whatever he wanted, even if it was killing Lin Feng. He sent Mu Qing to kill him and then the people from the Xiehua school. They were all sent by Feng Chen with the sole purpose of killing Lin Feng. Since he wanted to kill Lin Feng would find an opportunity to repay Feng Chen and everyone from Tianfeng. Qiong Qi beat its wings and shot through the sky. They passed by the lofty and tall buildings of the capital. Lin Feng was looking down at the buildings on the ground. They were all particularly beautiful and some were almost tall enough to reach the clouds. At that moment, inside the imperial city in a beautiful palace, Prince Duanwuya of Shuiyu and Prince Fengchen of Tianfeng were walking next to the people of the Dragon Mountain Empire, Ruolan Shan, Jian Chen, and Yao Tianshu. Fengchen felt like there was someone glaring at him and sensed a cold wind blow onto him. It sent chills down on him. That cold wind had made him shiver. He then raised his head and gazed into the distance. He was trying to see through the clouds to see who was releasing such a cold glare. Chapter 509, How could he not fight? Feng Chen and the others all stopped walking and gazed into the distance. They only sensed a cold energy surrounding them and the target was Feng Chen, the prince of Tianfeng. Apart from Feng Chen, the envoys from Tianfeng were also being targeted and were enveloped by the cold air. A small black dot appeared on the horizon and a whistling sound spread filled the air. In a flash, the small dot had crossed a distance of several kilometers. It was extremely quick. Lin Feng. Most of them, when they saw the person approaching, were stupefied. That black dot was Lin Feng on his winged tiger and he was rushing towards them. "He's not dead." Feng Chen was stupefied and his pupils shrank. It seemed like the people of the Xiehua school didn't manage to kill Lin Feng either. Besides, Lin Feng was so audacious that he had immediately rushed to the imperial palace. Was he planning to fight here? A terribly cold wind was rushed close and the wings of the winged tiger batted quickly, causing the gravel to fly in every direction as it landed in front of those people. Lin Feng jumped off the back of the winged tiger and nodded towards the people of the Dragon Mountain Empire, Mr. Ruo, Mr. Yao. Those two people also nodded at Lin Feng and Ruolan Shan immediately asked, "Lin Feng, you came here but you look as if you are furious, why is that?" "I need settle some accounts," said Lin Feng. He then slowly turned around and looked at Feng Chen. A cold light flashed in Lin Feng's eyes. His entire body was releasing his qi that enveloped Feng Chen and the other people from Tianfeng. Feng Chen and the others were stupefied and coldly staring at Lin Feng as well. Both sides remained silent, they were only releasing their qi which was colliding in the atmosphere. Ruolan Shan looked startled and glanced at Lin Feng, then at Feng Chen, but he remained silent. He knew what was going on. Feng Chen had sent people to kill Lin Feng. Lin Feng, you are in the imperial palace, don't you think that you are exaggerating? Said Feng Chen immediately while accusing Lin Feng. He was saying that Lin Feng didn't respect Xueyu because he wanted to see how Duan Wuya would react. Lin Feng ignored him, he only waved his hand and a sack appeared, which he threw at Feng Chen. Feng Chen caught the sack and opened it. The sack was leaking with blood. When he saw what was inside, he was astonished and started to shake. Lin Feng was so cruel. Inside the sack was Mu Qing's head. You are the prince of Tianfeng, you came to Xueyu as a guest, yet each and every one of you attempted to humiliate Xueyu, over and over again. First it was the princess, then you send people to kill me. I am a respected member of Xueyu. Don't you think that you people from Tianfeng are humiliating my country a bit too much? Do you despise Xueyu? Said Lin Feng in an ice-cold tone. He then took a small step and released more of his energy. It was piercingly cold and it was moving towards Feng Chen. That extremely cold and sharp energy stupefied Feng Chen. He was staring at Lin Feng and said, "What do you want?" Lin Feng smiled coldly, but said nothing. He remained silent and was just coldly staring at Feng Chen and the others. At the same time, he continued releasing his oppressive and cold energy into the air. All the people from Tianfeng were surrounded by his energy. The atmosphere had become particularly cold. Everybody remained silent. Lin Feng was still releasing his energy which enveloped the whole crowd, but not a word was said. Feng Chen was staring at Lin Feng with killing intent. Lin Feng was extremely audacious, he had surprisingly barged into the imperial palace and wanted to kill him. Besides, he had beheaded Mu Qing and delivered it in a sack to the prince. How cruel. Besides, Feng Chen felt that he was being humiliated. Lin Feng was acting as if he was a king as he looked down at the prince. Duan Wuya was only calmly looking at the scene, nobody knew what he was thinking, he didn't plan on intervening. Feng Chen had implied that Lin Feng didn't respect Xueyu, but even if that was the case, Duan Wuya was willing to accept such behavior from Lin Feng. He had known Lin Feng for a long time and could understand his actions. Lin Feng was brave, audacious, courageous and talented, he was an extraordinary individual. Lin Feng had a flaw though, he was very impulsive and allowed his decisions to be affected by his emotions. He didn't care about the consequences of his actions when he was angry. If Lin Feng was furious, he cared about nothing, he didn't care who he killed and didn't care what consequences would occur. For example, he didn't hesitate to kill Shi Qiong or Duan Tianlang, they both had high statuses in Xueyu, but they had offended Lin Feng so he slaughtered them without mercy. He also took his revenge by massacring the Haoyu sect and the Ice and Snow Mountain village, followed by the holy courtyard of Xueyu. In Lin Feng's mind, there was only one path for his enemies, death. The same thing happened at Xiangjiang Lake, no matter who or what stood in his way, he was determined to kill Shi Qiong. Therefore, Duan Wuya wasn't surprised by the fact that Lin Feng had charged into the imperial palace, and on top of that, he didn't care. However, Ruolan Shan seemed irresolute. Lin Feng had high natural abilities and was very courageous, he admired him for that. However, Lin Feng wanted to kill the people from Tianfeng, and the question wasn't who would kill whom, but the result would be the death of talents. The most concerning thing was that Lin Feng might be injured. Ruolan Shan didn't want to see that. Even though he still didn't know who would be joining the great competition of Xueyu as a participant, and some geniuses might appear to occupy the vacant positions. At the very least, Lin Feng and the second envoy would occupy 2 of the vacant positions. Lin Feng, why are you so infuriated? Can't you forget about it for the time being? Asked Ruolan Shan in a calm way, he was a bit angry at Lin Feng's actions. However, Lin Feng shook his head. Forget about it for the time being? Impossible. Ruolan Shan frowned, but immediately calmed down, he then continued, you are all geniuses, I am an ambassador from the Dragon Mountain Empire, I don't want you to be harmed before the competition, I hope you can understand that. Lin Feng remained silent and grew tense. Lin Feng, you're really too arrogant, you even disrespect your elders. You're a disgrace, shouted Feng Chen furiously. His face was filled with killing intent. Lin Feng was insufferably arrogant and audacious. He really wanted to kill them while they were inside the imperial palace. The second envoy had broken through to the 6th Xianqi layer. He didn't believe that Lin Feng could fight against him. The atmosphere was filled with a deathly silence and it was very oppressive. Lin Feng slowly turned around and looked at Ruolan Shan. He then said, Mr. Ruo, why are you in Shuiyu? To select the participants for the great competition of Shuiyu, obviously. Therefore, I hope that nothing will happen to any of the potential seeds, replied Ruolan Shan. And the people who will participate in the great competition of Shuiyu, aren't they all geniuses? Asked Lin Feng again. Of course that there will be only powerful geniuses, from the 4 empires and the 13 countries of Shuiyu. That is unquestionable. Mr. Ruo, you are saying that the cultivators who will participate in the competition are the most incredible geniuses in the continent. However, Lin Feng, am only an insignificant cultivator. I am far from being as skilled as the geniuses who will participate in the competition. Besides, my skills are also lacking. I'm much too inferior to those geniuses, so why would I go to fight against them? Asked Lin Feng. When Ruolan Shan heard Lin Feng, he was stupefied. Then Lin Feng talked again. For someone like me, participating in the great competition of Shuiyu, wouldn't it be the same as courting death? Ruolan Shan was gobsmacked. What was Lin Feng trying to say? Was he saying that he didn't want to participate in the great competition of Shuiyu? Was he going to compete? Did he not dare to risk his life? Participating in the great competition of Shuiyu is an opportunity to see the most amazing geniuses of the 13 countries of Shuiyu. It is an opportunity to travel the continent, experiencing the great battles and improving through the dangers. However, the most important part is the overcoming of the dangerous situations, but that requires courage. If I have no courage, what would be the point of participating? We are currently in Shuiyu, my home. If I allow myself to be bullied and humiliated while in my own home without acting because you don't want me to be harmed, well then, doesn't that make me seem like a weak coward? If I am a coward, why would I leave Shuiyu? How could I dare to face the geniuses of the 13 countries? If I am that weak, why would I want to face them? Lin Feng's words astonished Ruolan Shan. Lin Feng had a point. The great competition of Shuiyu wasn't only about the geniuses from Tianfeng. There would be extremely strong cultivators from the other countries, and even people from the other empires. All of them would be incredible geniuses. If Lin Feng acted weak while in Shuiyu, his home, how could he leave Shuiyu to fight with the other geniuses? After remaining silent for a few seconds, Ruolan Shan's lips moved. He said, I will not get involved. This is none of my business. It is a matter between you and them. Chapter 5:10. Thunder Spirit. Ruolan Shan moved aside and smiled. He didn't blame Lin Feng for his rude behavior at all. In fact, after hearing Lin Feng's words, he admired his actions. Lin Feng was courageous, tenacious and talented, but the most important part was that he had the heart of a conqueror. No matter how strong his enemies were, no matter what their status was, Lin Feng would kill them, out of self-respect, and for the sake of his cultivation. Lin Feng wasn't scared when facing the Prince of Tianfeng and the envoys. He was fearless. There was only killing intent in his heart. That kind of person could soar into the heavens. On the path of cultivation, they would continue to climb until they reached the peak. Therefore, Ruolan Shan didn't want to stop Lin Feng. Lin Feng could solve his issue with the people from Tianfeng now that Ruolan Shan had allowed him. Ruolan Shan would no longer get involved and neither would the people from the Cosmic Pavilion. It had nothing to do with them, therefore they moved aside as well. Duan Wuya smiled indifferently as he moved aside as well. He didn't care about such a thing. At that moment, the people from Tianfeng and Lin Feng were facing each other. both parties were giving the other a murderous glare. Lin Feng despised them, he wanted to use them as a stepping stone on his path of cultivation to strengthen his own resolve. "I am surprised that you would immediately come here to fight," said Feng Chen slowly while staring at Lin Feng. Lin Feng didn't reply, he took another step and released his astonishing qi. It seemed like he wanted to destroy the atmosphere with the power of his qi. Apart from Feng Chen and the second envoy, the others could also sense the killing intent in the qi which made them shiver. Lin Feng's qi was incredibly cold, they felt like they were suddenly surrounded by ice. It was terrifying. If Lin Feng had the opportunity, he would kill them mercilessly. Lin Feng had the heart of a killer. "I am surprised too, I thought that you would run back to Tianfeng," said Lin Feng indifferently. He then released some deadly qi which into the air, it was as sharp as a sword. Lin Feng looked like he wanted to slaughter them all and remove their bodies from existence. Feng Chen pulled a long face. He was shocked. Lin Feng's intent was incredible. Lin Feng wasn't only talented, he was also extremely strong, in fact, Feng Chen admired him for his strength. Lin Feng was incredible, such people were rare in Tianfeng. Unfortunately, Lin Feng was from Shuiyu, so they had become enemies. That couldn't be changed. They had a grudge which couldn't be settled until the other had died. "You're too arrogant and think too highly of yourself. I am not inferior to you, Lin Feng," said Feng Chen, whose clothes started fluttering as he released his power. He released an ice-cold energy which collided with Lin Feng's deadly energy that was filled with intent. Many people were stupefied but immediately calmed down. It was the first time that they witnessed Feng Chen's strength, he was extremely strong and had broken through to the 6th Xian Qi layer. But they weren't too surprised, Feng Chen had several armies under his control, his strength was never in question. If he wasn't strong, then people would have already killed him and claimed his position as their own. "Your Highness, let me fight," said the second envoy while taking a step forward, he was standing next to Feng Chen. His cultivation layer was exactly the same as Feng Chen's, the 6th Xian Qi layer. His level was much higher than that of Lin Feng, he didn't believe that a trivial person like Lin Feng would be able to defeat him. Feng Chen glanced at the second envoy and nodded, he then immediately moved back to let the second envoy fight. He wanted to see how Lin Feng would handle a cultivator of the 6th Xian Qi layer. The second envoy's spirit was monstrously brutal. Lin Feng was coldly staring at the second envoy, they were destined to be enemies. Suddenly, Lin Feng's eyes turned black, pitch black, his eyes were filled with an incredible coldness, his eyes were desolate and without emotion. The Lin Feng, at that moment, looked like another person completely. What's this? A special power? Or a spirit? When the second envoy saw Lin Feng stare at him with his pitch-black eyes, he felt like Lin Feng's eyes had become an endless abyss, he couldn't see the end of the darkness. "Let's fight. I already wanted to kill you after last time," said the second envoy. The night of the banquet, Lin Feng had challenged him to a battle, he had humiliated all of the envoys and even killed some of them. When Lin Feng challenged him, Ruolan Shan had unfortunately stopped him from killing Lin Feng. "It's not too late for you to kill me," said Lin Feng while releasing some more deadly energy. The second envoy took a step forwards and, in a flash, a dazzling purple light emerged from his eyes along with a thunderous sound that filled the air. The sound of muffled thunder invaded the atmosphere and Lin Feng's deadly energy immediately dispersed from the attack. The crowd was stupefied when they saw his attack. At that moment, the second envoy was surrounded by thunder, he looked like a thunder god. The second envoy's spirit was the very rare thunder spirit. His explosive power was monstrous and powerful. Thunder spirit. Lin Feng was stupefied. His eyes were twinkling, he released more deadly energy and raised both his hands. A sword condensed in his hands and started to lacerate the atmosphere. It seemed like it was leaving a black trail as it moved through the air. "Go!" The second envoy stretched his hand and an endless stream of thunder and lightning rushed towards Lin Feng's sword. Lin Feng's sword diffused a terrifying black light. Kacha! Lin Feng's sword could lacerate anything in its path, but the thunderous sounds were unceasing. Lin Feng's deadly sword descended from the sky and continuously destroyed the thunder and lightning. The deadly energy was moving straight towards the second envoy. The second envoy raised his hands and a purple and white light emerged from his palm. It looked dazzling. "Thunder light," said the second envoy and closed his eyes. He looked like he was praying to the thunder god. A purple thunder emerged from his hands and rose into the air. In a flash, that purple and white light immediately shot towards Lin Feng's sword. That purple thunder light contained an endless killing intent. CSSH. There were no terrifying explosion sounds, there was only a battle between deadly energy and a dazzling purple light. The energies continued to crash against each other as they rippled through the air and spread out in all directions. The people watching started to move back. Only Lin Feng, the second envoy, didn't move. Under the purple and black energy, Lin Feng was expressionless. He took a step and his astonishing deadly chi appeared again, with another deadly sword. "Ultraviolet thunder!" shouted the second envoy in a deep voice. A multitude of thunder appeared which moved straight towards Lin Feng's sword light, but they were stopped by the deadly energy contained within Lin Feng's sword and were destroyed. Lin Feng's sword was cold and murderous, while the second envoy's thunder was incredibly dangerous. Their battle was starting to destroy the atmosphere. "It seems like I won't be able to destroy his energy just by relying on my sword," thought Lin Feng. He then moved his left hand. On Lin Feng's left hand appeared a flag mark which immediately turned into a gigantic banner filled with rampaging flames. A banner, a spiritual banner. The crowd was astonished. Lin Feng had a precious and incredible treasure, a banner. Duan Wuya was stunned. He had never seen Lin Feng's banner, this was the first time. He hadn't thought that Lin Feng would surprisingly possess an incredible treasure like a banner. Besides, there was a sun pattern on the banner and it was releasing terrifying flames. It was obviously not the first time that Lin Feng had used the banner, it had already burnt people alive and absorbed their power. The banner contained a fire chi which belonged to other cultivators. The banner appeared but Lin Feng's sword didn't disappear, he had his sword in his right hand and the banner in his left. Lin Feng was controlling both powers at the same time. Lin Feng had used his black lotus in his left hand and his sword in his right hand in the past, this time, he had a banner in his left hand and a sword in his right hand. Chapter 5:11, A Fist. The second envoy was stupefied as well. Not only did Lin Feng have a banner but he was also using a sword at the same time. That required an extremely strong soul. That's a real genius, thought Ruolan Shan when he saw Lin Feng. Many people already had difficulty controlling one skill, those who had high natural abilities could master more skills, but it required practice to improve and control them. Lin Feng was the kind of genius who could learn and master skills quickly. Lin Feng didn't stop, he immediately ran towards the second envoy. His deadly energy was sharp and cold, his deadly sword was moving straight, aiming for the second envoy's life. Destroy. The second envoy attacked with both hands, shooting thunder which moved straight towards Lin Feng's sword, but Lin Feng continued running towards him. The second envoy narrowed his eyes, it was the first time that he met someone who was attempting to fight in close combat against a cultivator with a thunder spirit. Thunder spirits had a monstrous explosive power. In close combat, the enemy would be destroyed by the thunder and lightning surrounding him. Very few people dared to fight a close combat battle, let alone when their opponent had a thunder spirit, however Lin Feng was one of the exceptions. Boom! 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 The second envoy waved his hands over and over again as thunder emerged and exploded towards Lin Feng. Who? Lin Feng moved his left hand, which was holding the sun banner, and attacked the thunder. The banner and the thunder were locked in a battle of power. Explosive booms rang out, but the thunder was starting to burn. Thunder had the power to give birth to flames. Usually fire would be weak against thunder, but Lin Feng's sun fire could even engulf the power of thunder. Besides, he was using a banner which was extremely powerful and couldn't be damaged by thunder of this level. Lin Feng continued to move closer to the second envoy. Does Lin Feng want to fight in close combat against the second envoy? Thought the onlookers while staring at Lin Feng. They were extremely surprised. Lin Feng was surprisingly moving closer to the second envoy. Wasn't he scared of thunder and lightning? If the second envoy used the power of thunder with his fist, he would be able to bombard Lin Feng's body using his spirit and physical body. The second envoy smiled coldly. Lin Feng was approaching. He wasn't scared and wanted to fight in close combat. He was giving an advantage to the second envoy. Ultraviolet celestial thunder. The second envoy looked calm and solemn and started condensing thunder which were revolved around him. A dazzling purple light descended from the sky to envelop the second envoy's body inside clouds of thunder. At that moment, he was bathing in a sea of thunder. He looked like the reincarnation of a thunder god. Feng Chen was watching the battle from a distance and could see the dazzling purple light that surrounded the second envoy, which made him smile coldly. Lin Feng wanted to fight in close combat. How would he resist the power of ultraviolet celestial thunder? At that moment, the second envoy wasn't even moving. He was waiting for Lin Feng to approach him. Lin Feng's eyes were growing darker and darker, as well as terrifying with each second. He looked gloomy and it was like he was staring through the second envoy. Since the second envoy wasn't attacking anymore and was just waiting. Lin Feng immediately retrieved his banner and only held his sword at that moment. Lin Feng held his sword with both hands and allowed it to absorb a tremendous quantity of deadly energy. His opponent's cultivation level was much higher than his. The thunder contained an incredible destructive power. If his sword didn't contain intent, it would have been destroyed a long time ago. Lacerate, said Lin Feng in a sinister tone. The dark light of his sword was astonishing as it descended from the sky towards the second envoy. The second envoy raised his head and saw the sword moving towards him. His facial expression was calm. He raised his hands in the direction of Lin Feng's sword. In the blink of an eye, an endless purple light emerged from his hands. His hands weren't hands anymore, they looked like clouds of thunder and lightnings. Boom! A muffled explosion emerged in the air. The sword had landed on the second envoy's thunder, but Lin Feng's deadly sword was struggling to move forwards through the thunder. Die! Shouted Lin Feng furiously. An incredibly brutal and violent deadly energy emerged as well as his pure qi. Lin Feng's deadly sword was growing more powerful. It started to lacerate the atmosphere ruthlessly. You will not have a chance, said the second envoy coldly. His body was glowing with the purple light which emerged from his hands. It was his ultraviolet celestial thunder. He had started condensing it within his hands again. The thunder was unceasingly following Lin Feng's deadly sword and blocking its blade. It was extremely quick. Lin Feng's body was slowly being surrounded by the thunder. It's over for Lin Feng, thought many people who were watching. At that moment, Lin Feng's sword, filled with intent, was surrounded by dazzling purple thunder, but his sword wasn't able to lacerate the thunder at all, which gave the second envoy every opportunity to attack. If Lin Feng was touched by the thunder, he would be severely injured. However, Lin Feng looked expressionless. Even though the ultraviolet celestial thunder could block his deadly sword and surrounded him with thunder, he wasn't planning on escaping. Is Lin Feng giving up? Is he submitting to death? Many people didn't understand what Lin Feng was doing. He wasn't escaping. Didn't he care about being surrounded by the thunder? They obviously didn't notice that Lin Feng's body, at that moment, was filled with incredible strength. It was moving through his body and bones to focus on his right hand. CRR. CRR. Lin Feng's right sleeve was suddenly torn apart to expose his entire right arm. The crowd was shocked. It was over for him, Lin Feng was doomed. The purple light had already torn apart his right arm. But surprisingly, he was still holding his sword. The second envoy had a tyrannical smile on his face. Lin Feng had given up and was simply committing suicide. The thunder only needed a few more moments before it would start tearing apart Lin Feng's body. Even if Lin Feng didn't die after being bombarded by the thunder, he would definitely be severely injured. However, Ruolan Shan was stupefied and fixedly stared at Lin Feng's arm. He could see that something black was flowing inside his veins. It looked like a terrifying physical strength was suddenly emerging from Lin Feng's body. However, it was difficult for him to see it clearly due to the thunder and deadly energy surrounding the two fighters. Finally, the thunder had almost destroyed the condensed sword, and at the moment when the crowd thought that Lin Feng was going to be exterminated by the thunder, he released the sword and disappeared. His body brushed past the thunder, but it didn't seem to stop him. It didn't influence Lin Feng at all. At the same time, Lin Feng moved with the wind and moved a few steps to the side. It was a short distance, but it was perfect. He had passed through the thunder and moved to the second envoy's side. The second envoy was stupefied. Lin Feng's speed was incredible, and on top of that he was using the opportunity to attack with his fist. Thunder. A terrifying thunder was released from the second envoy's body, but Lin Feng's fist quickly broke through the cloud of thunder. A terrifying thunder energy attacked his hand, but it didn't have any effect. It couldn't stop Lin Feng's attack. 3000 rotation strength. Maximum power. Boom. Lin Feng's fist immediately crashed into the second envoy's head. It wasn't a surprise. With the strength of the 3000 rotations, the second envoy's head exploded on impact into small chunks of flesh and bone. The purple thunder was still surrounding the second envoy's body, but the thunder was joined by a mist of blood. Everyone was speechless. He was dead. Lin Feng didn't even bother destroying the thunder. Instead, he received the thunder with his body and used his fist to crush the second envoy's head. That astonishing move made everyone speechless. There was no reaction for a few seconds. They felt like they were all seeing things. It was unimaginable. In an extremely dangerous situation, Lin Feng surprisingly accepted the attack with his body to attack his opponent. He had made the second envoy focus on the sword and then used his powerful fist when the envoy was focused on the sword. That fist was terrifying. Lin Feng ignored the attacks from the thunder and punched straight through. What an incredible physical strength! Thought the crowd. They were gasping in astonishment. Lin Feng had planned that attack from the beginning. He used his sword as a distraction. He only wanted to get close to the second envoy and attack him by using his physical strength. All the people from Tianfeng were devastated. They were fixedly staring at the headless corpse which now laid on the ground. The body was giving its last life throes. He was dead. The second envoy, who was at the 6th Xianqi layer, had died. Lin Feng punched his head into a pulp. How powerful! Ruolan Shan was smiling indifferently. That boy had many hidden tricks, and all of them were exceptional. Chapter 512, Boiling Blood. Lin Feng had used pure physical strength, no skill, no technique, just pure physical strength. Lin Feng had punched through the thunder to crush the second envoy's head, but what was that physical strength? What kind of physical strength did a body require to cross through thunder without being injured? There was a mysterious light that surrounded Lin Feng's body. It looked like a mystical aura. Feng Chen was fixedly staring at Lin Feng. His facial expression was sharp as a blade. Lin Feng had just proved to him that he could kill the second envoy, a cultivator of the 6th Xianqi layer. Lin Feng looked down on the 7 envoys at the banquet the other night as it was justified. Lin Feng was declaring that the envoys from Tianfeng who had come to Shuiyu were not his match. None of them were. Lin Feng destroyed all of them. including the second envoy. At that moment, Feng Chen was their last chance to prove the opposite. Lin Feng slowly turned around and looked at Feng Chen. Feng Chen's eyes looked like blades and sharply pierced through the atmosphere towards Lin Feng. "It's your turn," Lin Feng calmly said in a deep voice, however the sound of his voice made the atmosphere feel oppressive, especially for Feng Chen. Lin Feng, with only one sentence, was able to make Feng Chen shake from head to toe. After killing the second envoy, Lin Feng was finally looking at Feng Chen. He still wanted to fight against him. He was the prince of Tianfeng, but at that moment, he was in Shuiyu. "Feel." Feng Chen slightly closed his eyes and sighed deeply. A sharp breath flowed from his mouth. He looked like he was sighing, but actually, he was releasing his deadly qi while looking calm and solemn. At that moment, the crowd could sense Feng Chen's deadly energy. Feng Chen wanted to kill Lin Feng. He wanted Lin Feng's life and everybody knew it. Lin Feng also wanted to kill him, therefore, only one of them could live through the fight. Lin Feng's strength is incredible and he is courageous. He is already facing Feng Chen now, thought the people watching. Feng Chen wanted to kill Lin Feng and they could understand his reasons for sending people to attack Lin Feng. They had anticipated that it would happen. However, they hadn't expected that Lin Feng would charge into the imperial palace alone to settle accounts with Feng Chen. He was extremely audacious, daring, bold and brave. They admired Lin Feng for his courage. Many people felt inferior to him. Besides, Lin Feng had even convinced the ambassador from the Dragon Mountain Empire, Ruolan Shan, to allow the fight. Of course, what astonished them the most was Lin Feng's strength. Even though he had challenged all the envoys last time, they never thought that Lin Feng could actually compete with the second envoy. In fact, they were wrong. Lin Feng had slaughtered the second envoy in front of them and was even challenging Feng Chen. "I am actually really surprised by your strength. Your strength has far exceeded the expectations I had about you," said Feng Chen. The atmosphere was filled with an oppressive and cold, deadly energy. "But your strength doesn't allow you to act that wild and arrogant. You should never have humiliated Tianfeng like you did. Since Mr. Ruo doesn't mind us fighting, I will show you my strength," said Feng Chen in a calm and solemn tone. Feng Chen raised his head, and joined his hands together to produce two deep black pure qi lights on his shoulders. It was terrifying. "Do you know where the name of my country, Tianfeng, comes from?" asked Feng Chen, which surprised Lin Feng. The crowd was stupefied too. The name of each country had a particular meaning. Tianfeng was no exception. However, very few people knew how or where those names originated. In fact, the people from Tianfeng had no idea where it came from. Only those of Tianfeng's imperial family knew the secret. Feng Chen didn't expect Lin Feng to answer, so he just continued. "A few thousand years ago, Tianfeng was a vast and wild area. There were terrifying and vicious ferocious beasts. Humans were under constant threat of the beasts. Those beasts reigned over a territory of several thousands of kilometers. There was one ferocious beast in particular who led them. It was a celestial wind beast. It had advanced into a Zun-level being. Tian equals celestial/heaven, Feng equals wind. The crowd were stupefied and surprised. Tianfeng was under the control of the wild beasts thousands of years ago. The celestial wind beast was terrifying and it could control the wind along with the thunder of the country. Nobody could resist the beast's rule. If anyone dared to resist the beast, they would be slaughtered by an endless army of beasts. That beast was tyrannical and the people were in constant danger. Everybody was extremely scared of that beast," said Feng Chen. Back then, there was a small village in which there was a young boy. When the boy was 8, he would dress in fur and sling a quiver on his back. He would always leave the village to practice his bow. One day, when he left the village, his parents and relatives were killed by the beast, and that was when the young boy chose his name, Tianfeng. When he was 12, he killed ferocious beasts in the jungle by using his arrows. He never stopped growing stronger. He killed the beasts mercilessly. When he was 15, he killed the head of a tribe with his arrow and took control of the territory. He gave that territory the name Tianfeng. When he was 18, he took the tribe on a campaign to invade the other tribes. His own tribe was in constant expansion. The Tianfeng people were killing ferocious beasts continuously for their leader. When he was 25, Tianfeng was able to kill a monumental amount of ferocious beasts. Finally, the extremely strong celestial wind beast grew furious and came to kill the boy. On that day, many people died. It was a bloodbath on both sides. And on that day, Tianfeng disappeared, but his name remained. Many people think that Tianfeng died during the attack of the ferocious beasts, so the people threw down their arms and were enslaved. They were enslaved by the ferocious beasts. However, they never forgot about Tianfeng. Even though he had disappeared, his people always remembered him with respect and admiration. He became their god. 18 years later, he wore the same fur coat he wore back in his small village when he was a child, but he had no arrows in his quiver. That year, Tianfeng resurfaced. He was 43, he would kill any beast in his path. He killed a monumental amount of beasts that day. One day he raised his arms and finally, the humans who were being oppressed by the beasts rose into action. They had faith in Tianfeng. Tianfeng had an incredible army which gathered in his name and they began to wipe out the beasts. The battle was an incomparable battle. Feng Chen sounded extremely proud as all the glory of the country resided on his shoulders. No ferocious beasts could stop Tianfeng. Each time they encountered him, they were slaughtered. Finally, the celestial wind beast personally came. It wanted to kill Tianfeng for good. The battle was incredible and lasted from noon to evening. The people were exhausted and had no more qi to fight with. However, Tianfeng continued to fight and injured the celestial wind beast. He then ate the beast while it was alive and drank its blood. That blood mixed with Tianfeng's own blood and granted him the strength of the beast. It was a soul-stirring change. Tianfeng freed the enslaved and the country was unified beneath him. Tianfeng became the king and the name of the country was Tianfeng. Everybody was moved by Feng Chen's story. The history of each country would always tell a story of a conqueror or incredible kings who reached the heavens. Tianfeng had become the king of Tianfeng when he was 43. He had become a Zun-level cultivator because consumed the Zun-level beast. He had encountered a great number of hardships and sufferings. The crowd would have never thought this was the origin of the name. Lin Feng didn't interrupt Feng Chen either. He was calmly listening to the story. Lin Feng wanted to become an extremely strong cultivator. The path of cultivation, it wasn't limited to one country. The story of the Zun-level cultivator of Tianfeng made Lin Feng's determination grow firmer. He even grew more fearless. He had to move forward fearlessly if he wanted to soar into the heavens. Feng Chen was proving how strong Tianfeng, the Zun-level cultivator, was. However, Feng Chen was just cherishing the memory, but that wasn't a reason to be conceited and arrogant. Recalling the glory which he had no part in, it didn't give him that right. After Tianfeng drank the blood of the beast, it merged with his blood and transformed. Then it became a new type of blood, and that blood had always been passed down from generation to generation. That blood is flowing in my veins too, said Feng Chen. A terrifying qi was emerging from his hands. The qi in his body was flowing in an insane way. It even started to boil. That beast blood was erupting. Chapter 5:13, Blood Strength. Everyone was staring at Feng Chen. They could clearly sense that his blood was boiling. It was insane. Kacha. A subtle sound emerged that made the people's pupils shrink. They only saw two black bones protrude out from Feng Chen's shoulders. His qi was also growing more and more terrifying. Kacha. Boom. Immediately after, two wings emerged from Feng Chen's shoulders. He raised his head and looked up towards the sky. His facial expression was cold and his jet-black wings looked extremely evil. The edge of his wings were as sharp as swords and black lights flickered around the wings. After his wings appeared, a black light floated around Feng Chen's body. His entire body was dyed black. His chi was frightening, he had the complexion of a black cloud. Between Feng Chen's eyebrows, a pitch-black light was twinkling and penetrating his skin. Finally, a word appeared. Wind. After the word appeared, his chi grew evil. The corner of his eyes also became sharp, just like the eyes of a beast. The strength of his blood. As expected, it's a blood spirit, thought the crowd while shaking. In ancient times, cultivators were much stronger. The people who founded the countries were extremely terrifying, they were usually cultivators of the Zun Qi layer. The ancestors of Tian Feng were Zun-level cultivators who passed their blood on to the next generations. Feng Chen was the same as the members of the imperial family of Shuiyu, they all had a powerful blood spirit. Feng Chen was staring at the others, the crowd had the feeling that a beast was gazing threateningly at them. His eyes looked ferocious. Besides, in Feng Chen's hand were terrifying flames, black flames. Flames were floating around his hand, they contained a deadly energy with incredible power. Then some light appeared inside the flame, thunder. It was thunder fire. In the past, the celestial wind beast could control wind, fire and thunder. Feng Chen had the power of the beast's blood, so he was also able to control wind, fire and thunder. His wings were flapping in the wind and controlling its movements. His hands could be used to control fire and thunder. Both of his hands were enveloped in a deadly light. Feng Chen is terrifying, thought the crowd while shivering. At that moment, Feng Chen was giving them a dreadful impression, he looked bestial. It seemed like this battle was going to be very interesting. Both were incredible, they were rare geniuses. Besides, most of them knew that Lin Feng also had a strong blood spirit. However, it seemed like Lin Feng's blood spirit wasn't as strong as the one Feng Chen used. Nobody could predict who was stronger. He's been hiding it quite well, thought Ruolan Shan stupefied while staring at Feng Chen. Feng Chen was hidden more deeply than what he had originally thought. He surprisingly looked like a beast, that usually ever-smiling young man looked extremely bestial now. Even though he had always known that Feng Chen wasn't weak, he had never thought that he would be so strong. Besides, his blood spirit looked monstrously powerful. Geniuses like him were indeed extremely rare. No matter who died, it would be a pity. Raising geniuses such as Lin Feng and Feng Chen was extremely difficult. But things couldn't be changed. Lin Feng and Feng Chen were going to spare no effort to kill one another, only one of them will live. He had allowed them to fight a battle to the death. Ruolan Shan glanced at Duan Wuye. Duan Wuye and Feng Chen were the same, both belonged to the imperial family of their respective countries and both had a blood spirit which had been passed down by a Zun-level cultivator since ancient times. Besides, they were both incredible geniuses. Ruolan Shan had never looked down on either of them. Even though Duan Wuye was only the fourth high official of Shuiyu, he didn't know what power Duan Wuye had in a real battle. Duan Wuye or Feng Chen were both very mysterious. It was said that Duan Wudao, the first high official, was terrifying, but Ruolan Shan had never seen him. Duan Wudao wasn't giving him any face, but it perfectly corresponded with Duan Wudao's temperament. If someone didn't annoy him, then he was good to them, if someone offended him, then he killed them. Duan Wudao thought was arrogant, violent and unruly. Lin Feng was also staring at Feng Chen in an ice-cold way. That thunder fire was much more powerful than the second envoy's thunder. Feng Chen had grown wings, extremely dangerous wings. He wouldn't be easy to fight against. Lin Feng, what are you thinking of right now? Asked Feng Chen with the thunder fire in hand while coldly staring at Lin Feng. A cold energy was emerging from his mouth as he spoke. What I am thinking of? Lin Feng was staring at Feng Chen and said, "You're not the only one who has a blood spirit." Immediately after, Lin Feng's heavenly dragon spirit roared and appeared behind him. It had 7 heads, all of which were looking at the sky roaring. Purple lights were dancing around those heads, they looked like purple snakes. Lin Feng had released his purple spirit and his celestial fang spirit at the same time as it danced to the dragon's roar. Astonishingly, in the middle of all those heads, there was a gloomy light. It was the shaman spirit which was swallowed by Lin Feng's spirit when he had killed Wu Zhen. Huh? Feng Chen frowned and looked at Lin Feng coldly. Lin Feng surprisingly had a dual spirit, and on top of that there was a gloomy face in the middle of all the dragon heads. It also looked like a spirit. If you had the same cultivation level as me, I would be in a very critical situation indeed, but you have only broken through to the 3rd Xian Qi layer, so your blood spirit is still weak. How could it be stronger than mine, when I have broken through to the 6th Xian Qi layer? Said Feng Chen arrogantly. As he stepped forwards, a black light twinkled from his wings and he disappeared from his initial position. Lin Feng had the feeling that he was fighting against a crow beast. Feng Chen's terrifying deadly energy then immediately surrounded his entire body. Lin Feng's silhouette flickered and he disappeared like the wind. Boom! A black thunder fire bombarded the atmosphere, causing it to shake intensely as energy waves swept outwards in every direction. Unfortunately, Lin Feng had already escaped. He had moved back before the attack landed. "You want to escape? Do you think you can?" said Feng Chen while smiling coldly. His oppressive qi invaded the atmosphere. Lin Feng's eyes were pitch black and his celestial spirit was empowering his eyes. It seemed like he could see through Feng Chen. Feng Chen was similar to Chu Zhanpeng. They both gained speed using the wings of their spirit, but Feng Chen had inherited it from a celestial wind beast. It was his blood spirit. His wings didn't emit a sound when he moved, so he was much more agile than Chu Zhanpeng. Besides, Feng Chen's wings were as sharp as blades. He could easily slice his enemies using his wings. The thunder fire was also terrifying. There was a chance that Lin Feng would die if it touched him. Even his deadly sword wouldn't be able to block it. After all, there was a difference of 3 cultivation layers between Lin Feng and Feng Chen. Feng Chen had a monstrous strength. He was much stronger than ordinary cultivators of the 6th Xian Qi layer. If I use the strength of my 3,000 rotations to punch through that thunder fire, my body will be destroyed, thought Lin Feng. The strength of his 3,000 rotations was extremely powerful, but it wasn't enough. He would need 6,000 rotations to be able to deal with the thunder fire while only relying on physical strength. He would only need a single punch to kill him. Unfortunately, Lin Feng's physical strength could only complete 3,000 rotations. Lin Feng's celestial fang spirit would try to swallow everything, ferocious beasts and spirits. However, his celestial fang spirit was still too weak in comparison with the thunder fire. There was a difference of 3 cultivation layers between Lin Feng and Feng Chen. In order to defeat him, I have only one solution. I can only use my grim fire to condense a black lotus. Besides, I need to put all my pure qi into a single lotus. Otherwise, I will never have the power to kill him, thought Lin Feng while analyzing the situation. Feng Chen was incredibly powerful and he had a blood spirit along with a difference of 3 cultivation layers between them. Feng Chen was several times stronger than the second envoy, so it would be much more difficult to fight against him. Lin Feng had no doubts about his own fighting abilities, but to fight a blood spirit with the difference of 3 cultivation layers, it wouldn't be easy. Besides, he had to be extremely careful, never giving Feng Chen the opportunity to attack him. Lin Feng was thinking and moving at the same time. His heavenly dragon spirit was roaring and suddenly his purple spirit threw itself at Feng Chen. All the purple lights disappeared in the blink of an eye. They were destroyed by the thunder fire. Nothing of Lin Feng's purple spirit was remaining, which made Lin Feng grow even more cautious, but he was more determined than ever. Without his black lotus, he wouldn't have a chance of fighting back against Feng Chen. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.